My husband's double life and a mistress's scheme to bring 3 secret children to kick me out of my house, but they couldn't break me. My mistress is attempting to evict me, 42F, from my home, and my husband, 45M, has been leading a double life. I never imagined posting something like this on Reddit, but I'm in dire need of guidance. For the past 20 years, I have worked as a professional photographer with a focus on family portraits and weddings. I recognize the irony of documenting other people's joys while my own family is in disarray. I spent years concentrating on developing my career. Although I had always desired children, the time never seemed to be right. Something connected when I met Robert 5 years ago at the opening of a friend's gallery. He was quiet, considerate, and seemed committed to creating a secure future for us, which set him apart from other people I had dated. After a year of courtship, we were married, and the home we currently reside in was a wedding present from my parents that was only registered in my name. Our marriage was lovely for the first few years. We would spend weekends planning our future family while I edited pictures in my home studio and Robert would bring me coffee. We were ecstatic when, at 41, I became pregnant. Robert decorated the nursery himself, went to all of my prenatal appointments, and even learned how to prepare healthy meals for me. After the birth of our son, everything changed. The signals were there, looking back, but I was too happy about being a mother at last and too tired from late-night feedings to notice them clearly. The once caring and attentive Robert grew more and more aloof. Unless I specifically requested, the man who had painted clouds on our son's nursery ceiling wouldn't even hold him. I initially thought his actions were the result of the transition period that new fathers frequently go through. One afternoon, Robert arrived home early from work, and I was sitting in my studio trying to edit a wedding picture shoot while our son was napping. He organized his desk for an hour, something he had never done before, rather than spending this infrequent leisure time with our infant. Gradually, the late evenings at work began. First, he would explain, it was once a week, end-of-month reports. Training new employees comes next, twice a week. Before long, he was returning home late nearly every night, saying he had to cover extra shifts because the bank was understaffed. The more I attempted to engage him in our son's life, the more he distanced himself, and I realized something was amiss when he missed our son's first grin and dismissed it with a flippant, "There will be other smiles." He adopted the mantras, "I'm not good with babies," and "he won't even remember this stage." Each excuse was like a tiny cut, scarcely perceptible at first, but more agonizing as they mounted. I also began to notice other changes. He became extremely careful of his laptop, changed the password on his phone, and always took calls in a different room. I trusted him even though I now recognized the classic indicators. After all, we had planned every aspect of our family life together and tried for this child jointly. I've always found that looking through my camera lens helps me see things clearly, but for some reason, I failed to notice the biggest scam that was taking place in front of me. That is, until I received a message yesterday that absolutely upended my world. The message included multiple photographs and was sent from an unidentified phone. The pictures of Robert grinning and lounging with a younger woman and 3 kids who resembled him were like a kick to the belly. One picture showed them at a beach. Last summer, Robert had claimed to be on a business vacation at the same beach, which I knew. In another, the timestamp indicates that image was taken during the weekend when Robert claimed to be working overtime, and they were decorating a Christmas tree together. You deserve to know the truth. Your husband has been living 2 lives, and I'm the mother of his other children. I'm sorry you had to find out this way, read the succinct but heartbreaking letter that went with it. I nearly dropped my phone due to my trembling hands. I'm trained as a photographer to identify photos that have been altered, to look for irregularities and manipulations. These images were recent, authentic, and unprocessed. This had been going on since before our marriage, since the children seemed to be between the ages of 3 and 7. As I waited for Robert to return home that evening, my thoughts were racing with all of the late nights, business trips, and justifications he had offered me over the years. When he eventually entered, I silently showed him the pictures. His expression, which was one of resignation rather than alarm or denial, told me all I needed to know. I inquired in a fairly steady voice, "How long?" With my least favorite moniker, Nick, he began. Every word felt like glass in my throat as I said, "How long?" He appeared smaller than I had ever seen him when he sank into the chair. "About 8 years. Victoria and it started before I met you. I never meant for it to become this complicated." 8 years. He had been living a different life the whole time I had known him. He had another family, a younger lady and 3 healthy kids, while I was undergoing fertility treatments and navigating the difficulties of a high-risk pregnancy at 41. Even though I wasn't sure I wanted to know the answer, I questioned, "Why did you marry me?" He continued, "I loved you. I still love you. as though that were any consolation. Victoria was my past, but you represented something different. A chance at a more stable, respectable life. Then I laughed, a hollow sound that seemed to reverberate throughout our now overly spacious home. Respectable? You built our entire marriage on lies. You watched me struggle to have a baby, knowing you had 3 children across town. However, it wasn't until this morning that the entire tragedy of my circumstances struck. The doorbell rang as I was in the nursery, attempting to soothe my son following a restless night. Victoria, 34F, was standing there with 3 children that were definitely Robert's. She just pushed past me into my house without waiting for an invitation. "So this is the fancy house he bought you," she continued, tracing the wall of my dining room, where I had hung my most treasured family photographs. "Nice upgrade from the apartment he keeps us in." As her kids strolled into my living room and touched everything they could find, I hugged my son closer. It broke my heart to see how much they resembled Robert. His eyes were exactly the same as the oldest, a youngster of about 7. He smiled at the middle child, a girl who was maybe 5 years old. And his curly hair belonged to the youngest boy, who was also around 3 years old. I managed to ask, "What do you want?" even though her calculating stare told me the answer. Victoria's smile fell short of her eyes. "What's rightfully ours? Robert promised us this house. He said once everything was settled, we'd all live here together. A proper family needs space, after all." After pointing to her kids, she gave my son a stern look. More space than a middle-aged mom and her surprise baby need. Her statement struck me like a physical blow for their audacity. Robert had no right to promise anyone that this house was mine, a gift from my parents. Her attitude immediately shifted after I informed her of this. She snarled, "Listen," and moved in closer. "I've been in Robert's life longer than you have. These children need their father. They need a stable home. You're just the midlife crisis he'll get over soon enough." I discovered a strength I was unaware I possessed. I firmly said, "Get out of my house," even though my hands were shaking. "This is my property, legally mine. Robert has no claim to it, and neither do you." Anger twisted Victoria's face. "You think you've won something here? You're nothing but a temporary distraction. Robert always comes back to us. Always." She raised her voice, purposefully loud enough to be heard by the neighbors. "You're trying to tear apart a family. Think about these innocent children." Despite my internal disintegration, I maintained my position. The only one tearing apart families here is Robert, and you, by trying to claim what isn't yours. My neighbor Mar, 50 degrees Fahrenheit, came over right away after they departed. She offered to testify if necessary because she had seen the entire incident. She squeezed my hand and added, "I've already written down everything I saw and heard. That woman's behavior was completely unacceptable." I contacted my buddy Jane, 41 degrees Fahrenheit, and she came over immediately. She has assisted me in beginning to record everything, including the messages, the altercation, and Victoria's threats. She also reminded me that I am financially secure because I am a successful photographer. "The house is yours. Your business is yours. You don't need Robert's support to raise your son," she stated. Sitting in my home studio right now, surrounded by dozens of pictures of contented families, I'm wondering how I failed to recognize the warning flags in my own life. Robert keeps phoning and leaving messages about finding a solution that makes everyone happy, and "we can work this out." As if there could be a happy ending to this degree of treachery. The other family and the falsehoods aren't even the worst part. It's coming to terms with the fact that Robert was merely going through the motions, whereas I was cherishing every second of my late-life pregnancy, carefully recording every scan, every kick, and every preparation for our child. All these firsts had previously happened to him with Victoria. And I was simply a side endeavor? A dignified front? I need guidance. Do I need to get a divorce right away? Get Victoria subject to a restraining order? How can I keep my son safe in this mess? Although I've already gotten in touch with a lawyer, I would still like to hear from anyone who has had a similar situation. Right now, my son and my job are my top priorities. Next weekend is my wedding photo shoot, and I find it kind of funny that I'll be documenting someone else's happily ever after, when mine is in ruins. Perhaps, though, I need to remind myself that trust and love endure, even if they didn't in my own marriage. Has anyone already handled a scenario like this? What should I do initially? Right now, I feel like I'm drowning in a sea of confusion and betrayal, so any advice would be invaluable. I convince myself over and over again that I'm capable of handling this. I overcame a dangerous pregnancy, I developed a profitable company, and I can get through this too. However, I'm afraid of what tomorrow may bring as I watch my kid sleep soundly in his cot, oblivious to how his world has altered. First update. We appreciate all of your encouraging messages and remarks. I have to discuss what has transpired over the past 12 hours because the issue has taken unexpected turns. Victoria has started using social media for her campaign. She has been posting in our neighborhood Facebook groups, portraying me as a homewrecker who took another woman's spouse and herself as a victim. If the irony weren't so devastating, it would be absurd. She is showing her kids pics of Robert's pictures, saying they are the original family, and I am the intruder. Even more disturbing, though, was what transpired this afternoon. Victoria arrived at my photography studio posing as a prospective customer who wanted to schedule a family portrait session. She used a false name on the booking and had a different style, so at first I didn't recognize her. She was grinning and looking through my wedding portfolio when I entered the consultation room. "Such beautiful moments," she remarked without raising her gaze. "You're good at capturing other people's happiness while destroying it in real life." She went on to inform me that until I changed my mind about the house, she would post unfavorable evaluations of my company on all platforms. I remained calm and turned on the audio recording feature of the studio's security system. "You're trespassing," I said forcefully. "Leave now, or I'll call the police." She carefully got to her feet, moved over to my wall of highlighted wedding pictures, and purposefully knocked one down, breaking the frame. "Oops," she murmured, seeming to be worried. "Looks like things break easily around here." Victoria departed before the police arrived, even though my assistant had already contacted them. "I've recorded everything, including the shattered frame, surveillance footage, and social media posts. In addition to defending me, my attorney is requesting an emergency restraining order to safeguard my company. She has also told me that Victoria may have engaged in harassment and attempted extortion with her acts." The most unexpected development was when Rachel, 47F, Robert's sister, contacted me in private. She claims that 6 months prior, Robert attempted to obtain a second mortgage on my home by falsifying my signature. Instead of filing charges, the bank, which is also where he works, discovered the counterfeit and discreetly allowed him to leave. This explains why he had been so evasive about his recent promotion to a separate branch. Victoria's fans are always posting critical remarks on my studio's social media pages, so I've had to temporarily close them down. Concerned about the situation, a few of my scheduled clients have contacted me. Fortunately, most of them have been understanding when I've been honest with them. Some have even told their personal tales of surviving betrayal in their families. Victoria had already done this, according to the findings of my lawyer's private investigator. She harassed another woman in a similar circumstance in a different state 3 years ago. Her tendency to approach successful people and use her kids as emotional leverage to obtain financial benefits appears to be consistent. I've joined a support group for parents going through family crisis circumstances and begun individual therapy. The therapist assisted me in seeing that, despite my concerns about becoming a mother at a later age of 42, I am actually ahead in terms of both financial and emotional stability. She is assisting me in creating plans to shield my son from the psychological effects of this circumstance. Telling my wedding customers why I had to reschedule several of our photo shoots has been the hardest part. It feels like a terrible joke to me as a photographer who focuses on capturing love and devotion to have my own life turned into a warning. But my work is becoming stronger. Even when my own life is in disarray, there's something therapeutic about concentrating on sincere moments of happiness. More security cameras have been placed around my home and studio. Mary, my neighbor, has been amazing. She has been watching and recording anytime Victoria or Robert show up in the area. The local police have stepped up their patrols in our area and now have a dossier on the problem. A few of you inquired about Robert's response to everything. He has been messaging me to say that if I simply quit being tough and agree to sell the house, he can cure everything. He doesn't seem to see that this is about years of deceit and manipulation finally coming to light, not about the house anymore. A particular thank you to everyone who offered materials concerning safeguarding small businesses from defamation campaigns, and once again, thank you for your support. I'm concentrating on my son, my business, and creating a new life free from deceit and manipulation by taking things one day at a time. According to my attorney, we have a solid case for the restraining order as well as possible civil lawsuits for slander and harassment. When there are noteworthy developments, I'll provide another update. Second update. First of all, I want to thank everyone for their ongoing guidance and support. Over the past 12 hours, the situation has taken a number of unforeseen turns. This morning, Robert arrived at my door, unkempt and holding a manila package. He said in a raspy voice, "I've signed papers relinquishing any potential claim to the house. I know it doesn't make up for anything, but I want to do the right thing now." The truth came out when I questioned what caused this abrupt transformation. He had tried to use my property as collateral for loans on several occasions, according to the results of an internal investigation conducted by his bank. He was compelled to leave in order to avoid facing criminal charges, therefore his departure was not voluntary. All of his transactions are currently being thoroughly audited by the bank. However, this is where things become much more intricate. My lawyer's private investigator discovered Victoria's unsettling behavior pattern in 3 states. It appears that she has previously targeted men in solid jobs, established parallel families, and then used the children as leverage to obtain assets and property. Once she got what she wanted, she moved on in each instance. The network of professional photographers has been tremendously helpful. Several well-known photographers in our community launched a counter-campaign after learning of Victoria's attempts to damage my company's reputation. They denounced the harassment and shared their positive experiences working with me. One even volunteered to let me use her studio when I needed it. I have a newfound sense of hope because this support has been a lifeline during such a turbulent period. Even though I have a long way to go, I'm committed to protecting my baby, getting my life back on track, and holding Victoria and Robert responsible for their deeds. As additional information becomes available, I'll keep you updated. A fellow photographer generously offered me a location for shooting, and I accepted. The most startling revelation came from the previous instructor of Victoria's eldest child. After witnessing the social media uproar, she got in touch and shared alarming details about Victoria's previous conduct. Victoria would frequently boast about her method of achieving financial stability during parent-teacher conferences, even displaying records from prior property settlements. By establishing a pattern of what seems to be deliberate deceit and exploitation, my lawyer is assembling a compelling case. It is challenging to trace Victoria's past because we have found that she has adopted at least 3 different surnames in the last 10 years. Records of her involvement in 2 such cases in Colorado and Nevada that resulted in property settlements in her favor were discovered by the private investigator. Unexpectedly, some of Victoria's family members have been contacting her. Her cousin revealed unsettling information about Victoria's previous plots, such as how she picks her victims deliberately depending on their resources and susceptibility to manipulation. The relative claims that before Robert and I even met, Victoria had been keeping tabs on the performance of my photography company for months. My new support group has been a lifesaver. One participant, a family law lawyer, gave me insight into how Victoria's prior actions would impact any custody agreements in the future. She clarified that parents who use their children as pawns in property disputes are seen negatively by the courts. The fact that one of Victoria's former victims got in touch with me this afternoon marked a turning point. Sandra, 45F, from Denver related a situation that was quite similar to hers, including the unexpected visit by kids and the demands for property rights. If necessary, she is willing to testify regarding Victoria's behavioral pattern. My business has had an unanticipated spike in support despite the chaos. Because of my excellent handling of this dilemma, local wedding planning organizations have begun suggesting clients to me specifically. Anyone who can maintain their professionalism under this kind of pressure is exactly who I want capturing my clients' special moments, a well-known wedding planner told me. Another alarming finding from the bank's inquiry has been made. Robert has been keeping up his double life by falsifying bank papers. He had been taking money out of his retirement account to help Victoria and her kids, which put our son's financial future in jeopardy. I'm getting advice from my financial advisor to document everything for the divorce process. Today, my therapist helped me come to a significant realization. My assets are no longer the only thing I need to defend. It's about confronting a pattern of systematic exploitation that has harmed several families. I may be able to stop Victoria from doing this to someone else in addition to protecting myself by retaliating legally and in public. I've begun a thorough documentation endeavor, documenting every encounter and occasion with my photographic abilities. Despite the pending restraining order, security cameras have repeatedly seen Victoria driving past my residence. We are adding each event to our legal file. Knowing how much this has affected my son is the most devastating aspect, but I'm determined to fight for his future and make sure he grows up in a secure atmosphere. Finding some of Victoria's social media posts in which she appeals to sympathy by mentioning her kids has been a noteworthy development. She asks them why someone would take their father away when they are holding signs. According to my attorney, this type of conduct frequently backfires in family court since judges highly disapprove of parents who openly use their kids as leverage. For the protection of my house and place of business, I have engaged a security consultant. They have assisted me in putting in place a thorough safety procedure that includes direct links to local law enforcement and panic buttons. My son's safety cannot be compromised, even though it feels strange to have to take these steps. I'm meeting with a forensic accountant tomorrow who focuses on exposing financial fraud in divorce proceedings. It appears that Robert's financial history demonstrates a pattern of questionable activities that may support the claim of intentional fraud. I appreciate all of your help and guidance. I would especially like to thank the Reddit legal community for assisting me in understanding my options and rights. When there are noteworthy developments, I'll provide another update. Third update, I would want to discuss what appears to be the last chapter of this tremendous circumstance. Significant changes have occurred during the past week, and there has now been some resolution. There have been some surprising developments since the divorce process formally started. In addition to using business cash and depleting his retirement accounts, the forensic accountant found that Robert had been doing so in order to assist Victoria's family and keep up connections with 2 other women in nearby states. The internal probe conducted by the bank has now evolved into a comprehensive criminal investigation. If Victoria's complex plan fell apart more quickly than everyone anticipated. 5 more ladies came forward with similar experiences after my last update. The pattern was the same in all of them. Victoria targeted wealthy men, formed parallel families, and then used the children to increase her wealth. Together with these women and their attorneys, we have put together a thorough case that is currently being examined by prosecutors across several states. The most important discovery was made by Victoria's former assistant, who supplied thorough documentation of her business plan. These records, which included in-depth notes about my photography company from before I met Robert, demonstrated how she investigated possible targets. To obtain property rights, she planned fortuitous encounters and deliberately exploited circumstances. During our meeting with my lawyer last Tuesday, we learned that Victoria had tried to perform the same ruse in Washington state while she was attempting to seize my residence. In that case, the detective introduced herself with yet another surname and shared surveillance footage of her exploring properties with another man. The direction of my photographic business has changed unexpectedly. I've been inundated with bookings since my story was featured, with my consent, in a bridal magazine piece about resiliency in the wedding industry. As one bride stated, someone who can maintain artistic integrity while handling life's biggest challenges is exactly who I want capturing my wedding. This is why couples intentionally invite me. I've established a support system for people who have encountered comparable difficulties. Despite the anguish, this phase of my life has shown me a strength I was unaware I possessed and that reconstruction is achievable with perseverance and the correct assistance. Knowing that I've learned lessons from this event that I will always apply, I will keep fighting for my son's safety and our future. We are developing tools to support professional women who are the targets of similar scams. We're working with financial advisors and family law lawyers to provide resources that will assist people in recognizing and safeguarding themselves against this kind of deception. Our advisory board now includes 3 of Victoria's former victims. Victoria is currently the subject of several fraud investigations, and the restraining order against her has been rendered permanent. When her own posts were used as proof of abuse and attempted extortion, her social media effort completely failed. Her tendency to use children as emotional leverage particularly worried the judge. Speaking of kids, the child advocate assigned by the court found that Victoria had been teaching her kids to seem distressed for pictures on social media. Child Protective Services is currently addressing a troubling pattern of emotional manipulation that was discovered during the investigation. The fact that these defenseless kids were used as pawns saddens me. The life Robert feigned to lead contrasts sharply with his current circumstances. Mutual friends claim that he and Victoria only ever fight about money while he rents a modest apartment on the outskirts of town. Since his financial wrongdoing lawsuit is still pending, his banking career is essentially over. Everything that previously made the man who said he needed a respectable life seem respectable is gone. I found a new schedule with my son. He may safely explore the comfortable play space I've created in a portion of my home studio while I edit pictures. I was given full custody by the judge, and Robert was only permitted supervised visits following his completion of parenting programs and counseling. The mansion, which has been the subject of so much drama, has come to represent tenacity. I've redecorated, wiping off the evidence of dishonesty and substituting real moments that I took pictures of. Photographs of my clients' sincere happiness and love now adorn the walls Victoria once desired, serving as a daily reminder that reality wins out over deceit. According to my therapist, I'm processing this trauma with amazing ease. Even while it still hurts, the betrayal no longer defines who I am. I've discovered that being a 42-year-old late mother wasn't a drawback. I had the tools and strength to shield my son from this upheaval because of my well-established work and life experience. For those who are curious about Victoria's most recent attempts, she and Robert have been mandated to reimburse her former victims. After learning that Victoria had been using child support payments to finance her real estate ventures, their maternal grandmother took custody of Victoria's children. At last, the kids are getting the treatment and security they are due. I took pictures at my first wedding since this whole thing started last Saturday. I had no resentment as I watched the couple exchange sincere vows of love and dedication. Rather, I discovered that I was even more grateful for the genuine moments. Being deceived hasn't harmed my capacity to portray genuine feelings. If anything, realizing the importance of authentic connection has improved it. I want to express my gratitude to everyone who helped me along the way. When Victoria tried to threaten me, when Robert tried to control me, and when I doubted my own strength, your counsel and support enabled me to remain strong. This group of people were my lifeline when I was at my lowest. I'm rebuilding something better, not just getting by. My business is expanding, my son is doing well, and our future appears to be more promising than ever. The darkest negatives can occasionally yield the best images. Yes, this photographer did. My mother moved away with her fiancé, and left me feeling abandoned. She was a terrible mother. I tried posting this elsewhere, but I think it got caught in a spam filter and the mods haven't responded. I don't know if this is the right place to go either since I'm 16F. Like, I mostly live with my dad, but I spend a weekend every month with mom. They divorced 3 years ago. Mom moved in with my cousin and it was cool cause I went there all the time. Like a year and a half ago, mom made me go there, introduced me to this girl and came out to me and said they were dating. She and her fiancé are engaged now. She also said they were moving to Victoria in a week. So yeah, after a week she was gone. From where I am to her it's a drive, a ferry ride and then another drive. It takes a while to see her, that's why I can only go once a month. Since she left, everything's been so sucky between us. Now it's like a good morning message and FT good night for 5 minutes. And everything else that changed with her just dipping like that sucks too. I don't even like visiting her, cause it's like I don't belong with her and her fiancé, but I went cause I thought that she wanted to see me and I miss her a lot every day. This weekend I was in Victoria and she was FT my cousin while I studied and they got to wedding talk. She said stuff like how her life is 100x better since she left, how she's finally got real happiness in her fiancé. Her fiancé is her world now and can't wait to fully move on from her old life. It just made me so freaking angry, like her life is so much better with me barely in it. And move on from that old life? I'm from that old life. I guess she noticed I was pissed cause at night she tried to talk to me. I said I didn't want to talk, but she's like she deserves to know when something's wrong with her girl since I always seem so depressed whenever I come over, and that just made me snap and I lost it and started shouting at her. I was like, I fucking hate the way she came out cause my life got a lot worse and it ruined things between us and it sucks that it's like she wants me gone cause she's happier without me. That started a pretty bad argument cause she was like, I'm blowing it out of proportion, I just don't understand. And then mom just left the room, but I heard her crying when I walked by her room to go to the washroom at night. In the morning her fiancé drove me to the ferry right after breakfast instead of after dinner. Since then it was just text cause I didn't want to talk to her. My dad and his GF have noticed my attitude, so yesterday I told them what happened and he flipped, telling me I couldn't say that shit to my mom, and his GF said I was an asshole for saying it. Before I went to sleep I FT'd mom to talk again and she said my happiness is hers and if she's why I'm depressed I shouldn't see her till I'm ready. Now I don't know like if I was wrong to say that shit to mom or what I should do even. My fucking counselor is still in Barbados. My dad's at work and his GF's like she's staying out of it, and my cousin did too. Again, sorry if this is the wrong subreddit. If there's a better one for me to post since the other one I tried doesn't seem to be it either. Please let me know. Update. So a lot of shit has happened since my last post and I just feel more shit than before. I didn't plan on posting here again, but you all were so nice I thought it couldn't hurt to hear what you have to say. But I called my uncle, he wanted to see me. Cause I was scared my dad told him, and then he's ashamed of me too cause he's gay and he's my fave uncle ever. So he picked me up after school and I went to his apartment and he just gave me a big hug because he knew something was up. So I told him what I said and why I said it and that I was scared he'd be mad at me too if my dad was the one who told him. He just told me he isn't mad and he understands, and we played basketball at the court nearby until it was time for him to drop me off. That was like the last time I've even felt actually happy cause the entire rest of this month has been such absolute shit. Like, I phoned my mom to say sorry the day after and talk about how I feel, but all she did was get mad at me for telling my uncle and said I'm not allowed to share stuff about her home without her permission. I said I was sorry about both things, but she said it didn't matter now and just hung up. Then her fiancé texted and just said to give my mom a few days to calm down. That just made me mad cause why should I? She's my mom. I should be able to phone her whenever, and I tried, but she just declined my call and then I think I turned off her phone. I don't know, I haven't slept properly at all since then cause I think I ruined things with my mom for good, like all she's been doing is texting me and we've barely actually talked. Like I keep thinking about it and my thoughts and dreams just get all messed up and it's like I get this soft lump in my stomach that keeps coming and going the more I think about it. It feels like I was right about me being part of her old life and I wish I'd never said what I did to her. Then it turns out I was supposed to get a tetanus shot when I was 11 but I didn't for some reason. We're not anti-vaxxers. So I had to get it now cause Dad said Vancouver Coastal Health Authority was on his ass and I ended up having a terrible allergic reaction to it. Like I got sent to the hospital for a week cause of it, like apparently super rare reaction, hooray for me. And that fucked up my exams too and my mom didn't even come see me cause she was going to a cabin with her fiancé the day after. She talked to my dad on the phone and learned how bad it was but just texted me she knew I'd be better and that if I was still there when she came back she'd come right away. Like it made me want to stay in the hospital for longer. She didn't fucking come, everyone came but her, like my cousin came every day and my dad's GF even slept by me a few days and my nieces and even my boyfriends and best friends' moms came but mine didn't. And when I got out all I got was a text saying so happy you're out of the hospital baby with a selfie from her and her partner showing off the cabin included with it. Like I couldn't stop looking at that stupid photo. I like obsessed over it for days and kept getting that stupid feeling in my stomach and so I smashed my phone and my dad's GF heard and he got an emergency meeting with my counselor. She's a psychologist but I've always called her that. Set up. And I told her everything but more details obvi and at the end of it she said I'm very likely depressed and might need treatment. I don't know. I got scared and asked her to tell my dad and she did and told us to get our family doctor to give a referral to a psychiatrist to get proper diagnosis for treatment or to just get it from the family doctor. My dad got scared and made us get that referral the next day. My dad made the appointment and asked my mom to come but she said she won't be able to and just texted me to stay strong and remember I'm the most important thing in the world to her. I don't know what to do. I don't want meds or anything. I just want my mom to love me like she used to again. If you guys have any advice on what to do I need to hear it cause it's like my mom isn't even listening to me anymore and the appointment is on Friday and I'm feeling scared. Second update. So, I would have made an update earlier but I just didn't have time. I'm in the hospital right now recovering from my ankle surgery and all I have is time until I can go home on Friday, so I thought I might as well update. The day after I wrote my post I had my niece's mom, my cousin-in-law but she introduces me as her little sister, so sister-in-law, drive me to my uncle and he just gave me the biggest hug ever and I don't know I just ended up crying a little and they ended up calming me down. I told my uncle about the appointment with the psychiatrist and that I was scared even though everybody, you guys, was saying it would be okay and that I'd just been so unhappy and that I'd just missed my mom so much. He agreed to go with me and my dad to the psychiatrist cause my mom wouldn't be coming. I don't know I just didn't sleep at all that night and just felt so scared in the morning and kept thinking about mom and didn't want to go to school either. But I did go, just felt so weird like that feeling in my stomach was just there and not going away. Only hanging out with my boyfriend felt right and before lunchtime I just fell asleep in class and got sent to the office. They phoned my dad and he signed me out and dropped me off at my uncle's house. He was already taking care of my niece so I felt bad but I went to sleep at the same time as her and he took a really cute photo of us sleeping next to each other. He woke me up when my dad came back and we just went to the psychiatrist together. Long story short, at the end of the appointment the psychiatrist prescribed me a really low dose of antidepressants cause I'm still scared. I've been taking them and they have made me feel a bit better but I have another appointment next week cause my counselor says I might need a higher dose. When I vented to my counselor, she said she'd be willing to host an extra joint session between me and my mom on Zoom if she agreed, and that it might help if I get my feelings across with a third party. I didn't want to do it but some of you recommended it and my counselor said it could be a good first step. So I called my mom and it was a short conversation again but she agreed to the counseling session and all I had to do was send her the Zoom link so we set one up for later. So I had the Zoom session in our computer room so I'd be all alone there and at first my mom seemed so excited because she was like we can work through our issues and put them behind us. I don't want to talk about all of it. I mean I couldn't anyway. I can't remember most of it but it didn't go well at all. Like when my counselor brought up not being with her that much, my mom said when I came to University of Victoria, I'd obviously stay with her and I just said after everything I didn't even want to go to the University of Victoria anymore and would rather just go to University of British Columbia cause everybody here actually wants me. My mom said that was ridiculous since outside of Waterloo University of Victoria was the best option for software engineering in Canada and University of British Columbia only has electrical computer engineering, so I'd have to go to her if I still wanted to do that. I remember my mom said a few times like she'd spent over a decade doing nothing but being a mom and now that she finally understood herself she just wanted time to explore that and I should appreciate that. Then at the end of it I told my mom that I hated that she didn't come and see me in the hospital and that she didn't even phone me like I told her I was scared I'd die and she just said it wasn't that serious cause it was a vaccine and those protect us and to not act like it was serious. I don't know, that made me mad and I just muted my mic cause I didn't want them to hear me crying, but I kinda had a breakdown and just ran out to my dad and his fiancée cause I was crying. They said they ended the session, but I don't know what they said to my mom or the counselor. Apparently I fell asleep crying on the couch while hugging my dad, but I don't remember any of it, but my dad said I was crying really loudly. I think they carried me to their bed because when I woke up in the morning I was there and my dad was on a mattress by the door and she was on one by the washroom door. They said it was to block me cause they were scared I'd try something. My dad took my new phone and laptop from me for a bit and said it might be healthy for me to stay off them for a bit. I have them back now. I haven't talked to my mom at all since then. I mean, not even good morning good night texts. She hasn't contacted me at all about my broken ankle even though I had surgery yesterday, and I feel like she doesn't even care that I got hurt. Like, I know dad told her that I'm going to surgery but she hasn't called. I have my phone and laptop back now, but my dad made me delete IG and Snap because he's worried seeing her on there might trigger me. A lot of you said I should stop talking to her, but I feel bad about it. Like, when I think about it makes me feel worse, like it's over now and I don't have her anymore. I just want her back. The only time I learn what's up with her is if I go to my cousin, who my mom stayed with after the divorce, and ask, and apparently she's still happy and is occupied with all her wedding planning. Like, another thing that sucks is that I used to love watching Scream with my cousin, but now I can't even watch it cause I feel bad for Billy cause his mom left him too, and I feel bad for feeling like that cause he's the villain. So I couldn't even get through our rewatch and we couldn't even watch the new one. I told my counselor that I still feel really bad and sad and nothing's changed, and she said I need to bring it up at my next appointment with the psychiatrist so he can up my dose. I don't know, I feel confused and I don't like not seeing or talking to my mom at all. I feel like I've done the wrong thing. I've tried to do things we used to do with my dad's fiancée and my boyfriend's mom, but it's not the same and I just miss her more, even though she probably doesn't miss me at all. I wish I could see her, but I don't want to keep ruining things for myself cause what if she doesn't want me anymore? I'd rant to my counselor about it, but I'm stuck in the hospital bed till Friday. So I guess that's why I'm back here looking for advice on what to do when I'm out of here. Third update. Hey guys, I'm posting again cause I'm confused as to what's going on and I thought maybe I'd get some opinions here before I bring it up with my therapist. Pretty much, I don't know if my mom hates me still or if now she wants to be my mom again. Because everything that she's done lately has made it so confusing. So my foot is still bad. The doctor said it's healing, but I'm mostly confined to crutches or to a wheelchair, and so I'm not really able to go to a lot of places. I mean, I can go anywhere, but I don't go cause it just takes too long to get around. I'm guessing that my cousin told my mom because apparently she came to New Westminster and did her wedding dress shopping there with my cousin and her fiancé, and she didn't even tell me. I know we hadn't talked since the therapy session, but she promised me that I would get to do that with her and she didn't even tell me. I found out because when I visited my cousin she showed me the dresses she was going to wear at the wedding and at the reception, and the ones my mom and her got for me to wear at those. I was confused because I was sad she didn't take me, but happy cause that meant she still wanted me there. Anyway, her wedding was on Canada Day and I went with my cousin to Victoria a week earlier. My dad did say I didn't need to go, but I didn't want to miss it. We stayed at an Airbnb that my mom got for some of our relatives cause her place was too small. She didn't come to visit me there, but my cousin went to meet her and I didn't go cause my foot was hurting really bad. When she came back she said my mom was really disappointed I didn't come as well. The day after I was going to go shopping downtown with my cousin, but then my mom came. Like, when she saw me she didn't give me a hug like she usually gives, she just kinda held my shoulders and gave an awkward kiss on the cheek and said she's glad that I decided to come. Then she kind of turned me over to my aunt, my mom's cousin, to go shopping with instead cause she and my cousin would be busy that week with all the wedding stuff and making sure it all went perfectly so we couldn't go downtown. I love my aunt, so it wasn't bad going downtown with her. She didn't even mind pushing me in the wheelchair, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. 2 days before the wedding they had this really big family dinner where my mom and her wife were introducing people to their relatives. Because my foot got swollen and the boot was hurting it, I had to go in the wheelchair. So my mom didn't even introduce me to people, and one of the few times I was able to talk to her, this guy related to her wife interrupted us, asked who I was, and she just said don't worry about her, and then had an aunt of mine wheel me away. That made me really upset, but I did feel a bit better because her fiancé's parents brought gifts for me. Not my kind of stuff. I think they thought I was younger than I am. The wedding itself was cool. My foot wasn't badly swollen then, so I was able to use my crutches. My mom acts so differently then and made me take a bunch of pictures with her and with her fiancé, and she seemed so happy and told me that it was the best day of her life only because I came. At the reception I wore the dress that she got me, but I couldn't walk in the crutches while wearing it. Not like the wedding one. So my aunt made me go in that dress and in my wheelchair even though I didn't want to. And my cousin said I could wear a different dress, but my aunt was like, my mom got the dress specially for me and will be upset if I don't wear it. Then at the reception, I wasn't seated at the table with family near the stage where she and her fiancé sat, but at a table with kids I didn't even know, even though some of my relatives younger than me were at the family table. My aunt said they moved me there because of my wheelchair, but I just don't get why I couldn't be with my family. My mom didn't even take a photo with me at the reception. She just came to me once and said hi, and I wasn't even in the family photo cause we didn't bring my crutches cause of my wheelchair, so my aunt said my mom told them to leave me cause they couldn't fit me in. Then the day after we were going home, my mom came to say goodbye to us. She talked to me alone for a minute and then she said sorry for everything that happened between us before and that she was hoping we could get past it, but if we couldn't she was still happy. I came to her wedding. I didn't really get to say anything, cause she just hugged me and sent us on our way. I don't feel that sad about everything anymore though, cause I think that the antidepressants have been helping. I have been feeling happier for about a month now and nothing has happened to me like I was afraid. For the last 2 weeks, my mom has been texting good morning and good night again when I didn't do anything, like text, call or phone or FaceTime since the therapy session with her. It hasn't been more than that, but I've been saying it back. I'm just confused with the way she's acting and what she wants. Do you guys have any clue or advice? Edit, I wish I could say thank you to everybody who has commented and given advice. I'm sorry if I didn't respond to you personally, but it means so much to me that you guys cared. I've read everything and I will be bringing up a lot of this with my counselor. Thank you guys so much, I love you all. Fourth update. So I got a phone call from my mom and I did answer, cause I guess I was curious, cause she's only been texting me since her wedding and she said she wanted me to come over, and even though I was really missing her, because I was going to go with my uncle's family to Seattle that weekend, I said no. I think I would have said no anyway because I was just planning on staying away like everybody here suggested, and my counselor also said that it might be good to define my life without her. She said okay, but then the day after, I think she phoned my dad because he said that I had to go to Victoria instead. I told him I didn't want to go, but we ended up arguing and he said that I didn't have a choice and my uncle would take me somewhere when I got back. So my dad dropped me and my cousin off at the ferry, and when we got to Victoria it turns out my mom and her wife, I guess stepmom now, moved into their new house. My mom's wife wasn't there cause she was in Ottawa for work, but her parents did come. They're really nice. They kind of went on about how they thought they'd never have grandkids and were so happy when they learned my mom had me. They did offer to get me some presents this time, but my mom let them take me to dinner at some pierogi place downtown instead. I don't know what to think about the visit because so much of it was good, but the one bad part was really bad. When I got there I wanted to talk to her about the stuff at her wedding and everything else, and I wanted to tell her that I would rather have gone with my uncle, but then I just felt really nervous and just couldn't because I don't know, I kind of felt like I'd just ruin the entire trip if I did. So I just didn't, and maybe that was the wrong thing. The first thing I noticed in her house was her giant graduation picture where she's holding a baby me above the fireplace. Then my mom surprised me by showing me my room, and it's perfect. I have a huge bed, a big personal washroom, a walk-in closet, one of those fancy standing desks and a TV. It's all white cause my mom was like, when my foot is better she wants me to come and paint and decorate it all with her. She even promised she'd never let anybody use the room even if I'm not there that often. The first night after I got back from the pierogi place, my mom, my cousin and I stayed up so late just watching TV, and I even fell asleep hugging her. The next day we went downtown and my mom took us shopping and then to the Royal British Columbia Museum, the one with the mammoths. My foot and my hands really started hurting after my mom made me use my crutches and not wheelchair because she said it'd be good exercise, so then she took us to a spa. We took so many pictures and I'm pretty sure she put them on Instagram, but I'm not allowed on it anymore, so I'm not sure. I was really tired when we got back, so I conked out right away, and when I woke up in the morning, Mom actually brought me pancakes in bed because of my foot, cause I love it when she makes those. The rest of that day was good too, except at night my mom said that when I moved in for university, we could make every day like this, so I reminded her that I might go to University of British Columbia instead. We got into a really big argument about university and I did scream at her and bring up stuff from before, but pretty much my mom said that she wants me to go to University of Victoria. If I still want to do software engineering, and said that if it was any other kind of engineering I wanted to do she wouldn't mind paying for the University of British Columbia, but that it's not good for software. She did say she would still pay no matter where I went, but she'd be really disappointed if I chose not to go to the best university for my degree where I could stay with her, just cause I blamed her coming out and moving for everything bad that's happened to me since then. She also said I needed to stop exaggerating how bad everything has been because it shouldn't make me change my university plan. I tried telling her that's not what I meant, but I couldn't say it right and I fucking started crying and she seemed to get really mad. She didn't yell or anything, but she just gave a frustrated sigh and said I needed to stop crying, grow up and accept that she handled things the best way she could and my attitude problems were why it's been a bad year for us. That just made me cry more, and she said if I don't grow up I'm never going to get a husband and then left the room. I just kind of kept crying cause I don't feel like any of that is true and the husband part was so fucking weird and I honestly can't stop thinking about that part specifically. Half an hour later, she came back with water and made me drink and started telling me how if I want to do computer or electrical or any other engineering she'd support the University of British Columbia but not the University of Victoria. Is the best for software outside of Waterloo and she doesn't want to send me so far away but will still pay for it if that's what I choose. I don't know why she wanted to keep talking about that but I didn't so I just agreed when she said she'll take me to talk to an advisor to convince me next time I come over. Me and my cousin left early the next morning, so yesterday. And my mom said she'd try and come over for my birthday because her in-laws really wanted to attend and that she'd try and make an appointment at the University of Victoria. Once my foot's better. The thing is that argument was the one bad thing about that visit. Everything else would have been perfect because it was just like it used to be with her and I don't even know if I'd be posting if it had been but I just can't stop thinking about the stuff that she said when we argued. I don't even know why she said the husband thing. I just don't get what the fuck she meant by that, or why she would bring it up. I'm not going to smash my phone this time but I do feel mad thinking about it. I told my cousin about the argument we had on the way back and she told me she personally thinks I should go to University of British Columbia and would try to convince my mom but that she thinks she just wants me to live with her again. I told my dad and his fiancée about it and he apologized for making me go but said that he had to. He and his fiancée have checked on me a dozen times already. Like, I'm get that stupid fucking feeling in my stomach again every time I think about it and I wish I'd been able to go with my uncle instead. But I am going to spend the rest of the week at his apartment so I guess it's fine. I'm going to go to my counselor again today before my uncle picks me up. Does anybody have any advice for me that I can bring up? Cause we went through comments posted here last time. Fifth update. So some stuff has happened. I've pretty much just been texting with my mom since my visit to her. I tried to keep it good night, good morning but when I didn't respond to her other messages, she phoned my dad and he told me I didn't have to phone her but to at least respond to her other messages. I did have to go to Victoria for Thanksgiving because her wife's whole family was going to be there and she told my dad I had to go. I was only there for 3 days with my cousin and the first 2 days, my mom pretty much spent with me and it was like it used to be again. Like she and I went shopping. We even cuddled to sleep watching TV again but the third day she and her wife were focused on the dinner and guests and everything so I get it. Yeah, I was upset that she paid really little attention to me, but her wife's entire immediate family was there and I get that she needed to focus on them. But when we left after dinner, we had to take the really late ferry. My mom said bye and that she was going to book a meeting at the University of Victoria to take me to and didn't even give me a second to talk about it before waving us bye. And then it went back to just texting good morning, good night until my birthday. So then my mom and her wife came with her wife's parents because my mom was like they really wanted to celebrate my birthday. I guess they're my step-grandparents but I really like them and they seem to really like me too. I mean, my step-grandma said the best thing about the wedding was that they finally got a grandchild and they brought a lot of presents for me. They have a niece around my age and they had her go out with them and just get so much stuff that they think someone my age will like, and I do like it. My mom got me an album of pictures of us and said to look at the photos whenever I miss her cause it'll make it like she's right there with me. At the party, mom and dad seemed to get along just like when they were married. Like they were laughing, telling jokes and even had me do goofy pictures with them like we all used to. Mom's wife got along with dad's fiancé and with my uncle, his son and his son's wife. My mom didn't talk to my uncle at all beyond when he came to say hi to her and she said hi in a really mean tone to him, which was weird since they used to be so close. I guess she's still mad at him for when I talked to him about what was going on. She was really weird with my boyfriend and was nonstop making jokes about him and me getting married and making her a grandma. She straight up said to him I don't want you to wait until I'm gray and in my 40s to make me a grandma. But his mom also got in the jokes so I guess it was just a mom thing. My mom and her wife left after only about an hour and a half in order to go stay at a fancy hotel all the way over by Cole Harbor, even though my dad did offer them a room. Mom just said she doesn't feel it'd be appropriate to stay in the same house as him and it's too painful for her, cause she designed the house when I asked her why she couldn't stay. It did piss me off cause they came at 4 o'clock and so when everyone was setting up I guess that means they missed the actual party. My step-grandparents stayed though and only left in the morning when my mom and her wife came to pick them up. Then at like 8:30, my mom FaceTimed me but it looked like she and her wife were in the hotel spa or something. It doesn't make sense cause I thought those closed pretty early in the day but they were wearing those robes and looked like they were someplace really fancy. Then my mom was like she has to hang up cause she doesn't want me to see them without clothes on and they were both giggling at that. That really fucking pissed me off that they ditched my birthday to go hang out in a spa. Maybe they were actually doing something else, but I honestly don't want to even think about that beyond what I have. Then there was the album that she gave me as a present. I didn't really think about that a lot then because I was just happy that she came. But I did try yesterday because my dad's fiancée was meeting with some of her relatives for last-minute planning because her and dad's wedding is on Sunday. I wasn't with them because I was studying, but when I did leave my room to get my charger, I heard them talking about me. My dad's fiancée was saying the best stuff about me, but her relatives were saying some shitty things about my mom and she wasn't stopping them. She was also talking about how my mom is forcing my dad's hand to send me to her over winter break instead of my uncle's cause that's when their honeymoon is. I didn't mean a spy, and I get now that I'm writing about it that what they were saying wasn't exactly wrong and they were only saying it because they didn't think I'd hear, but it really fucking pissed me off and it still does. So because I was upset, I looked at the album and it's pictures of both of us from when I was a baby until now. Behind each picture she slid a note about why that memory is special or what the picture means to her if she can't remember. But it just made me angry because of how few photos there are from after she moved to Victoria. Most of them are the ones of the wedding day and barely anything before that. There's one photo in it that was like a month before she came out, and it's when she lived at my cousin's house, and pretty much I surprised her with cookies that my cousin and I made that day. When I surprised her, she hugged me so tight and told me she was so proud of me, and my cousin took the photo on her phone. But that night I found her crying in her room and she said it's because I'm growing up, and said something like how she wishes she could live in moments like that forever since she's so proud of me. And it just makes me so mad because that's what I want back, and the fact that I'm not even in photos of her pre-wedding events and reception and so much other stuff in Victoria just makes it seem as if the album is her giving me proof that I've barely been in her life and that I should be happy for it. And I know I shouldn't be thinking that because she actually gave me such a good gift and I'm poisoning it in my own mind instead of valuing it and all the memories inside. My therapist has been trying to help me define life without her, and it's hard because I don't want to, because I can't let go of this feeling that it could be good again, and I don't want those people to be right. My therapist says it's all right to want that, but for my own sake I need to in case it doesn't ever happen, and it'll help once I'm in university, so I've been trying but I hate it. So, I guess I came here again to ask for advice and stuff I can bring up in therapy. Relevant comments. Comment 1. I also thought that perhaps the grandparents-in-law saw how little OP was being acknowledged and wanted to change that. If they were really crazy about having a grandchild, they would probably want a genetic one. I think they might possibly be decent people trying to help that poor neglected kid. Op's mother is a cruel, disgusting human being. Comment 2. I get that feeling too. Mom was completely okay with leaving her old life, her daughter, behind, until wannabe granny grandpa started wanting to be involved. Now daughter has value. It's so infuriating that all these adults, minus the uncle, keep blaming shifting onto her. Like, why does this kid have to make all the goddamn adjustments in behavior and attitude? Of course she is depressed that her mom threw her away. But this kid keeps acknowledging. And she could be handling things better instead of making them worse. She isn't. It is normal to be mad at mom for treating her like an unwanted wedding crasher. She justified every shitty thing as something she, the kid, could have done better. No. She could have had a teenage meltdown when mom ditched her for the wedding dress shopping, or when she didn't even introduce her at the wedding. Being put at the kids' table. Fucking police. Comment 3. The husband comment makes way more sense now if she wants her to have kids. That's totally why she said that. She wants her daughter to have kids so the in-laws have grandkids. That's totally it. Why would a lesbian make a comment like that to their daughter? It seems so weird and not something a gay person would say. But if she wants her daughter to have kids, of course she wants her to have a husband. She probably wants to speed that process along. What a fucking awful thing to say to your 16-year-old daughter while she's crying. Instead of being empathetic and understanding, she dismisses her feelings, insults her, then tells her she won't ever get a husband. I hope this girl realizes she doesn't need her mom. She's not at fault, and she gets better with her depression. My brother once threatened to kill me, my husband, and our children. He was sentenced to a year in prison but will be released soon. What should I do? Hi everyone. I'm so grateful to this community and the incredible support. I'm posting this to update you about our case. My brother called and threatened to kill me and my husband and kids about 2 months ago. He also has a history of getting guns, an axe, and other supplies with plans to commit other murders. He has hurt a dog sexually when he was younger, but did not hurt people yet. It has been horrible and difficult, and I'm not sure that I could have survived emotionally without my friends, colleagues, and this community. You gave me amazing advice. We are moving this upcoming weekend. My husband has been more supportive with the move, even though he still feels that he could take on my brother. I'm not interested in physically confronting my brother. I don't want to live in constant fear. Meds and the psych hospital didn't help him. I think the only thing that will help is a long-term inpatient unit, but our state doesn't have those resources. My brother was released from the hospital straight to jail. He currently awaits his court date in May. I met with the prosecutor today and gave my statement. They put his bail at $500,000, the highest the detective I've been working with has seen for a misdemeanor. His lawyer requested to lower it, but the judge refused to lower the bail amount. I was told the judge is aware of his previous serious plans and preparations to kill. The prosecutor plans to go for the most jail time possible for this, a year. I don't know if jail is right for him, but if he is released he will hurt someone. I spoke with my dad, and he was so mad at me for speaking with the police. He kept saying how my brother was asking for help and sharing his fantasies with me, not threatening me. He kept telling me to withdraw my statement. He said that I'm the one that put my brother in jail. It broke my heart. I told my dad that I only told the police the truth. I told him my brother is sick and will hurt someone. My dad said, "You don't have a crystal ball." True. But he's made his intentions clear again and again and again. His doctor said he has no empathy. His only thrill is thinking about hurting others. The prosecutor said that even if I withdraw my complaint, the state is still bringing these charges. The social worker and prosecutor said this to my parents, but my dad, mom, and sister keep insisting that I need to recant my statement. I'm terrified of every small noise in the house. We are leaving our friends and everyone we know and moving because of my brother's actions. I feel so heartbroken that my dad and family are blind to it. Everyone else, police and medical staff included, can see the clear writing on the wall. Relevant comments. Commenter. Please keep your location private from your family. While they downplay the threat your brother poses, they're a risk. I can easily see them disclosing your new location to him just to prove he's not a danger. OP posted about her relationship struggles with her husband. Please help me stay in my marriage. I'm losing my patience. Married for 8 years. We have 3 kids, 7 to 2 years old. We both work full time. Recently we had to move due to a safety issue. My husband did not want to leave and made me feel crazy for wanting to flee for our safety. Our already fragile marriage feels unstable with the added stress of moving. My husband is on the spectrum and I thought that working from home would help him be less stressed and more kind. But he is unhappy, unkind, yelling at me and the kids, and generally questioning any decision or request I make. I made a compromise when I married him, knowing that I did not like his sense of humor or sex with him, but thinking that his intelligence and our common values would get us through. Now I feel stuck because I don't feel like our values are the same anymore. He wants material possessions. He hates meeting new people. He can't tolerate the noise and chaos our kids bring. I don't mind the chaos and noise, that's just kids. I love minimalism. To me, a stranger is just a friend I haven't met yet. I'm making new friends every day out here, and he's refusing to meet anyone new in our new city. I love being at work because I feel valued and appreciated. I love being with my kids or my friends for the same reason. But I dread every interaction with my husband. When he's gone for several days I feel so happy because no one is criticizing me or yelling at the kids. He's on depression and ADHD meds and in counseling, but I don't think it has helped. Having known him for this long, I know he isn't changing. I keep trying to convince myself to stay. I want to stay for our kids. I don't want to ruin their lives. I'm just so very unhappy with constantly managing his feelings. I don't care if I will be alone my whole life. I don't care if I'll ever be loved. I just don't want to feel miserable. But I need to stay for our children. I feel so lost. I just want to not feel bad. Relevant comments. Commenter. Why do you need to stay for the children? What good is it for them to be exposed to this? OP. I've dated people before that had these qualities but didn't match on values, or ended up doing something that hurt me. I made a decision to marry my husband knowing we matched well on most things. But since having kids he has become angry. Activities that we used to enjoy together he no longer enjoys. He used to make me feel special. I'm hoping that things change and he becomes happy and fun again. Update 1. We have 3 young kids and we both work full time. We moved to a high cost of living location and my husband has encouraged me to get a second job because I have a profession that pays well. I told him that I enjoy working and I do, but I manage appointments for the kids and already feel stretched thin. I use lunch breaks to pick up meds for the kids or make phone calls for appointments for the family. My days off are used to take kids to appointments. I clean the house in the evenings. I let him know he'd have to take over the appointment coordinator role, start cooking more, and do more childcare if I'm working 50 or more hours a week. Well, I got off of work at 7 tonight and ran by the pharmacy to pick up our son's prescription. I was there over my lunch hour, but they messed it up so I came back after work. The line was long and I texted him updates. By 8 something I got the med and drove home. He was pissed because he took the kids to Costco for dinner and one accidentally dropped their food. I got home in time to help with bedtime while my husband yelled at the kids and told me he can't handle it. He said he could handle things if I actually made it home at a reasonable time. I'm kind of dumbstruck. Does he want me to work more or take care of the kids? I can't do both, and I told him this ahead of time. When we met he told me that he wanted kids and I agreed to have kids. I love our children. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, but he told me that would stress him too much. I'm now feeling forced to work but still having to pick up the slack at home. Relevant comments. Commenter, sounds like your job is already tough getting off that late in the evening. Does he work and do you have daytime childcare? If he can't handle a single evening with the kids, I'd be concerned about him having to do that most nights. What a whiner. He's going to have to toughen up and get some better parenting skills and patience because parenting doesn't necessarily get easier, just different, as the kids get older. OP, we do daycare. I'm a healthcare provider and my job gives me a lot of satisfaction, but we recently had to move for safety reasons. I'm the one that forced us to move because I was fearful for the kids' lives. The job I took promised full-time but ended up only having 30 hours a week, so I'm now picking up extra days at another clinic and interviewed to work at an urgent care on the side. Our son has severe ADHD and anxiety. I had to get all the doctor appointments scheduled, find school and daycare for the kids, get us into a protective program, take the kids to appointments, etc. My husband doesn't cook and he yells at the kids. He is in counseling but it sounds like the major thing the counselor said to him was that he has to take time for himself. I thought that was wild. I have done my best to keep us afloat. My husband kept his old job but it doesn't pay as well and he has to drive back to the old house to fix it up to sell. The drive is 8 hours each way, so I'm caring for the kids on my own weekly. I'm struggling. We don't have family here so not much support. Writing this out makes me feel like maybe I'm a dummy for doing this and not putting my foot down, but I signed up for counseling and it was a disaster. The therapist told me to stop having expectations and to not complain and then proceeded to argue with my husband. Commenter, dude, there are a lot of bad therapists out there so please don't let that deter you. We had to go through a few before getting one that worked for us. I couldn't believe the internalized misogyny and blatant sexism of many. The worst one didn't take insurance so we were paying $200/WK for one session. She was obsessed with his family and how they were the image of perfection. She asked if she could meet his parents. She also told me that I should not have expectations. It should be clearly communicate and discuss expectations. She told me I was not allowed to bring up relationship issues. She would only ask me to listen to him and validate his feelings. It goes on and on. Do not let someone speak to you like this. Your feelings are valid, and find a new therapist if you are told otherwise. OP, wow, did we see the same therapist? It was almost verbatim what this therapist said to us. I'm the one that booked the appointment and filled out, not even joking, the 39 mandatory forms before the appointment. She berated me for filling out all the forms myself. Before any input or questions, she pointed to my unhappiness in our marriage from the filled out forms, and told me that I clearly overthink things and talk too much. Yeah, you had 39 mandatory forms. Of course it's a lot. Update 2, quick recap on her previous situation and thanks the community for their support. I want to let you know we are safe. We are in our new state. My husband is trying his best and being far more supportive. He still believes we should have stayed to fight, but he's accepted the fact I felt the threat was real. The kids are adjusting to life in our new state. We made some friends. Our location is not public, despite my license to practice medicine being available online. It is far from the first result and our address is hidden. My employer is very respectful and kept my name off of the clinic list of providers. I've signed up for address protection through our state. This is thanks to many of you who advised me to move and hide our address. I appreciate all your kind advice. I am flying back to our old state today to testify against my brother tomorrow. He decided to go for a jury trial on advice from my parents. I'm an anxious mess and have tons of conflicting feelings. I helped raise my brother and a large part of my identity has been helping and protecting my siblings. A small part of me feels that testifying against him, and sharing everything I know, will destroy his life and be a betrayal. But I know he made his bed and must have consequences. It's the right thing to do as shitty as it feels. The boy I helped raise is not there anymore. He is not the same person that sexually abused a dog, that has threatened to shoot up a hospital pediatric unit, stab my sisters, kill my parents with an axe, or kill me and my husband and kids with a sledgehammer. I dread seeing this man tomorrow. Every time his photo shows up on my phone I panic. Meeting people with the same name makes my heart beat faster. I can't stop feeling fear. I plan to tell the truth and let the jury decide if my brother is guilty. I worry that this will destroy what's left of my relationship with my family of origin. I have to do the right thing even if my parents and sisters think this is a betrayal of our family. My sister told me this will not change things between us, because she believes I will do the right thing for the family. But the truth is I plan on doing what's right for my family and the community. Again, I am grateful to you and will update you on how things go. Updated added via an edit. I just gave my testimony. My brother and mom were staring daggers into me, but I did my best to keep calm. They only allowed me to testify about the threatening phone call, not about any of my brother's past history. Not about guns, axes, or dogs. Relevant comments. Commenter. You're doing the right thing. Congratulations to you for actually doing something and preventing a tragedy. You're awesome. I don't know about American law, but is there a possibility to testify without the defendant in the room? Like, remove him from the room while you can testify. I've asked for this and I've seen it happen many times as a lawyer in another country. OP, I do not think there is a way to testify without my brother being in the room. I know that my family will also be there, and in a way, knowing how much they do not want me to testify is the worst part. My family is Soviet with a history of alcoholism, abusive behaviors, and secrecy. I'm trying to break that cycle for my own kids and to raise them to tell the truth, even if it is difficult or scary. It's heartbreaking that my brother grew up to be this person and threw all of us into this horrible situation. I wish that I didn't have to go against my parents' wishes, but I truly don't have a choice. Commenter. Your brother is desperate for help. And your parents and sister want to ignore those cries for help because IDK they don't want to look bad. If your brother is released and hurts or kills someone, what then? OP, my parents were mad at me for taking him to a crisis center initially when he admitted to being suicidal. They thought I should have brought him home to them to take care of it themselves. I think their approach would have allowed him to hurt someone. They think him buying guns and an axe, and tactical gear and scoping where to shoot people is just fantasies he had. My dad said it's no different than watching 102 movies, or reading historical fiction. My parents also don't believe that he sexually abused their dog, even though he admitted to it multiple times and the police and FBI told us about it and the social workers confirmed it. I didn't want to believe it either, but my brother admitted to it himself to my face and he looked very sheepish, and embarrassed that he did it. He didn't expect that his doctor would reveal it to the police, but they did. My parents care more about their son and how the family looks than the actual well-being of their daughters or grandkids. Update 3. Hi everyone. Thank you again for your kind support. Here is a hopefully final update. I testified against my brother today, in the case of threatening to kill me, my husband, and our kids. My brother was found guilty. I gave a victim statement and my husband gave one virtually. I was able to provide more background on his past threats and guns and other weapons. My testimony at trial was very limited to the phone call, so it felt good to be able to say all the reasons we have to take him seriously. My mom gave a tearful character statement saying he was so gentle and would never hurt anyone. The judge cut her off mid-testimony. It was honestly so validating. He will be released from jail in 2 weeks to serve out his sentence of 2 years of probation with regular check-ins, mandated therapy, and possibly having to wear a GPS tracker. The judge also extended the protective order for me and my husband and kids to 4 years. My mom is renting a hotel room for my brother once he's out of jail. They are trying to find a halfway house, but it will most likely be not very secure. At least probation and mandated therapy should help, I hope. I do not plan on having any future contact with my brother. I will see if we have contact with my parents. I plan on still talking with my sisters. I've urged them to not share their addresses with our brother, but they are adults. I'm not going to reveal our location to any of them because I don't trust that they won't reveal it. I feel that the ruling is fair and will get my brother treatment. I think that we are safe now. I did everything I could. Now I'm in the airport about to fly home and I'm having a drink to close this horrible chapter. Cheers. My sister tried to seduce my fiancé before our wedding. Got caught on camera and was disowned by our parents. My manipulative, narcissistic sister attempted to seduce my fiancé just before our wedding in an effort to break us apart. Fortunately, her actions were caught on camera, leading to her being disowned by our parents. This story revolves around my older sister, Dove, 29F, who has never been able to tolerate my existence, as she apparently believes I'm living a life that I don't deserve. Dove, who is now divorced and jobless, is living with our parents. She had dropped out of college to be with her wealthy boyfriend. who eventually divorced her when her true nature became apparent. Growing up, my relationship with Dove was far from ideal. She was always the pretty and smart one, full of herself, and our parents consistently showered her with praise, which left me feeling inadequate. Everyone around us constantly admired her looks, while I was often ignored, and it hurt deeply. Dove used her popularity to mess with my mind, telling me that no one liked me, which made me incredibly insecure. My parents never supported me or acknowledged my feelings because Dove always lived up to their expectations. This led me to distance myself from them throughout my childhood and teenage years. Dove frequently had friends over when our parents were at work, and they would often mess with my room. On one occasion, they even ruined a school project of mine, nearly causing me to fail. When I threatened to tell Mom about it, Dove blackmailed me, saying she would share embarrassing pictures of me with my classmates. At just 14 years old, I was terrified. Dove never took responsibility for her actions, and it was pointless to tell my parents because they never paid attention to me. My mom never had my back, although my dad would occasionally call Dove out. For instance, one time she used my phone to send strange pictures to my friends after I'd complained to Dad about her. Another time, she spilled coffee on my prom dress and then played the victim, crying and claiming it was an accident. After that, I stopped confiding in him altogether. I never really understood why she harbored so much hatred towards me until later when I realized that she was a narcissist, and her behavior had nothing to do with me. She was a walking red flag in her relationships, cheating on every guy she dated. As much as I hate to admit it, she was also a gold digger. Something her ex, who remains a friend of mine, can fully attest to. Essentially, she was pretty awful as a teenager, and nothing changed as she grew older. If anything, her behavior only got worse. It was entirely my parents' fault because they never bothered to discipline her. After school, things finally started to look up for me. I worked incredibly hard to get into my dream college, and after a few years of struggle, I landed my dream job. It was there that I met the love of my life, Atlas, at an office conference. He was smart, kind, and handsome, and we hit it off instantly. Within a few months, we started dating. We traveled a lot, which only strengthened our bond. Atlas was very close to his family, so he introduced me to his siblings and parents just a few months into our relationship. But when it came to introducing him to my own parents, I took my sweet time. The main reason for this delay was my sister Dove and her malicious intentions. I always had this nagging feeling that she would find a way to ruin everything. She was the one who always got the best of everything as a child and teenager, and now that my life was going better than hers, I was certain she wouldn't be able to handle it, especially when it came to my relationship. However, I couldn't keep delaying the introduction any longer. Atlas was beginning to grow suspicious of my reluctance to introduce him to my family. So, after a year and a half of dating, I finally told Dad about him. Dad was thrilled that I had found a man who was worthy of me and invited us over for dinner. While I was excited, I was also equally stressed because I knew Dove could go to any lengths to sabotage my happiness. Although Atlas was aware of my family dynamics, I went over it with him in detail. He was relaxed about it and reassured me that he would handle whatever came his way. A few days after I spoke with Dad, I unexpectedly received a call from Dove. It was surprising since she had never reached out to me before. She started asking questions about Atlas and when I planned to visit home, but it was clear that her real interest was in getting more details about Atlas. I can only assume that Mom had told her I was seeing someone and that our relationship was getting serious. Dove was suddenly trying to get all chummy with me, but I could see right through her motives. Now, I'm grappling with whether I should take the risk of introducing Atlas to Dove, knowing full well that her intentions are far from good. I'm also considering an alternative, perhaps inviting my parents over to my place so they can meet Atlas without involving Dove. Update 1, thanks for all the great advice. Some of you asked for more details about Dove, so here you go. It's true that my parents, especially my dad, began to see Dove differently after her divorce, and she really brought it on herself. She had been academically gifted, but once she got to college, her entire focus shifted to her looks and beauty. That's when she met Jeremy, a super rich guy, and jumped into a relationship with him, completely abandoning her studies. During my final year of school, I was busy preparing for my college entrance exams, and Dove kept telling me I would never get into my dream college. But I did, and for the first time, I got validation from my parents. They were genuinely happy and proud of me, but Dove couldn't stand it. She was jealous that all the attention was on me and not on her. To sabotage my moment, she announced her engagement to Jeremy at the celebration party my parents had organized for me with close family and friends. It was obvious from Jeremy's expression that he had no idea she was going to do this, but she succeeded in making the day all about herself. Everyone immediately became curious about Jeremy because, according to Dove, he was extremely wealthy. Dove loved to show off the expensive gifts he bought her and would constantly tell me that I'd never find a rich husband because I was ugly and no one would want to date someone like me, always trying to make me feel bad. I eventually told her that I wasn't a gold digger like her and that I could pay my own bills, so she could have the rich husband if that's what she wanted. In truth, she was incredibly selfish and downright evil, the most selfish person I've ever known. A week later, Dove and Jeremy got engaged, but by then I was already off to college and didn't attend the engagement. During my time in college, I had no communication with her. It actually felt good to come home for the holidays, knowing that Dove was living with Jeremy. Even during the holidays, she would often be away on vacations to exotic locations with him. After a year of dating, they had a lavish wedding, with most of the expenses covered by Jeremy. Dad chipped in for the remaining costs as a courtesy since Dove wasn't earning anything. Their marriage didn't last long, though. After 3 years, they got divorced. The reason, as I later found out, was that Dove didn't want to have children, while Jeremy was eager to become a father. Although he assured me he never pressured her, he was frustrated that she never disclosed her feelings about it beforehand and had avoided the conversation for 3 years. He also mentioned her drinking and partying habits, flirting with guys at bars, and that she had married him purely for his money, with no emotional connection. I couldn't help but wonder how he remained blind to her true motives for so long. Jeremy even showed me videos of Dove out drinking with guys who were touching her inappropriately, and she did nothing to stop them. I was relieved he finally ended things with her, but my parents took Dove's side, blaming Jeremy for pressuring her about having kids, never acknowledging her faults. After the divorce, Dove moved back in with my parents since she wasn't working. She had dropped out of college to marry Jeremy, and now, after 5 years, she had no degree and no work experience. She pretended to be traumatized by the divorce, but in reality, she was happy to be free. Within a month of the divorce, she was back to her old habits, clubbing and hooking up. Her life seemed to revolve around weekly dates and ditching people, and her Instagram stories made it clear what she was really up to. 2 years into my career, I landed my dream job with a great salary, and my parents were thrilled. After receiving the job offer, I visited home, and Dad was so proud of me, I couldn't have been happier. We were having dinner when Dove returned home, looking partially drunk. Dad was upset at the sight of her and commented that Dove should have focused on her education like I did, instead of ruining her life over Jeremy. He pointed out how much I was earning and how Dove was still dependent on them for money. Mom tried to get Dad to stop making such comments, but hearing this, Dove lost her temper and slammed the door. That's when Dad finally realized just how spoiled Dove had become. He told Mom that it was time to knock some sense into her, insisting that Dove needed to start taking her life seriously and get back on her feet instead of continuing to leech off them. By this point, I was completely fed up with her. Later, Dove barged into my room and smugly told me that no matter how much money I made, I could never be like her. She even went as far as to body shame me, pointing out my belly fat and chubby cheeks. As a teenager, those kinds of comments used to break my heart, but now, I just didn't care. I laughed in her face and told her that I had no desire to be like her and that she clearly needed to work on fixing her attitude. That set her off, and she demanded that I leave the house. I calmly reminded her that this was our parents' house, and she had no authority to boss me around. The next day, as I was packing to leave, I noticed that 2 of my dresses had been badly torn, clearly cut with scissors. I went downstairs and showed my parents what Dove had done. Dad was furious and called Dove out, but Mom, as usual, tried to make excuses for her, claiming Dove was in shock and didn't know what she was doing. Dad wasn't having any of it. He warned Mom to stay out of it and then unleashed his anger on Dove, telling her that she needed to get her life together because he was done providing for her or tolerating her narcissism. This confrontation didn't sit well with Dove, and she ended up hating me even more because of it. From that point on, I was subjected to Dove's wrath, but her hatred didn't bother me. It only became unbearable when she started making advances on my boyfriend. After much consideration and talking it over with Atlas, I decided it was time to visit my parents with him. There was no point in hiding him from Dove any longer because, no matter how hard I tried, she would eventually find a way to get to him. My friends advised me that it was better to test his loyalty now than to risk losing him later. Dove would only succeed in her malicious intentions if Atlas allowed it. With a sense of dread, I showed up at my parents' house with Atlas. I tell you, she was practically throwing herself at him. As he was exchanging greetings with Mom and Dad, Dove almost forcefully pushed herself onto him for a hug. I have no idea what made her think Atlas would fall for her looks. She had completely transformed her appearance, dyeing her blonde hair black, getting all dressed up in a new outfit, with her nails and hair perfectly done, as if she was on a date with him. She tried to force her way into the conversation, but it was clear that everyone was ignoring her. At the dinner table, she quickly rushed to sit beside Atlas. When I asked her to move so I could sit there, she gave me an annoyed look but eventually complied. She kept asking Atlas about his interests, and if he mentioned liking something, she would immediately claim she liked it too, even if it was obvious she didn't. Then she'd go on about how she and Atlas were so compatible, winking at me as if to suggest I shouldn't take it seriously, though it was clear she was trying to cover up her intentions. Atlas was visibly uncomfortable, and he ignored her, continuing his conversation with Dad and Mom. Her desperate attempt was so blatantly obvious. After dinner, I decided to take a shower, leaving Atlas by himself. That's when Dove walked in, asking him to call her number because she claimed she couldn't find her phone. It was obvious that this was just a ploy to get his number. How twisted. Atlas also told me that while I was occupied with other things, Dove tried to play the victim, telling him her sob story about the divorce and how much mental distress it had caused her, dragging on about how it took her years to recover. To make matters worse, Mom even chimed in, blaming Jeremy and speaking ill of him. After a while, Atlas asked me if I wanted to go for a walk and give him a tour of the neighborhood. Before I could respond, my sister quickly stood up and said, "Sure." Atlas looked at her, surprised, and firmly stated that he wanted some alone time with me. Her face turned red with embarrassment and she quietly retreated to her room. It's only been a few days since that visit and I can already sense that Dove is planning more schemes to lure Atlas into her trap. I can't deny that it worries me, but at the same time, I trust my man and am curious to see how he handles her advances. Update 2. Hello everyone, I'm thrilled to share that I'm engaged. Atlas proposed to me last month during a trip and yes, he got down on one knee with a ring, and I couldn't stop gushing over it. But even after our visit to my parents, Dove didn't stop with her manipulative tactics. She started texting Atlas, asking how he was doing. Knowing that Atlas is a huge cat lover, Dove began flooding his inbox with cute cat videos, even though she never cared for cats before. After discovering that Atlas adored cats, she went so far as to get one herself and began recording videos of it to send to him. For the first few weeks, Atlas showed me Dove's desperate attempts to appear caring and concerned, sending messages that pretended to inquire about his work and well-being. After a while though, he stopped sharing her messages with me. I assumed she had finally given up on him and moved on, and we both shifted our focus back to more important things, especially with our busy work schedules. One day, as I was scrolling through social media, I noticed that Dove had added Atlas to her account. She was liking and commenting on nearly all of his posts, using silly heart icons. She even went back and commented on old pictures and videos from 7 to 10 years ago. I immediately felt uneasy about it, so out of the blue I checked his phone. I discovered that Dove was still texting him occasionally, but her messages were unread and seemed odd. She was clearly trying hard to get Atlas's attention. In his call logs, I saw missed calls from her, including one that came in around 3 a.m., which made me feel anxious. I confronted Atlas about why he hadn't told me that Dove was still texting him. He got a bit nervous and explained that he had been ignoring her and thought it was better if we didn't talk about her. I pressed him further about the calls, and he remained calm. Then he sat me down and explained that one day, Dove had called him, sounding really upset. He got scared, thinking something might be seriously wrong, but it turned out she just started talking about traumatic experiences related to Jeremy, saying she needed someone to talk to. Atlas told Dove that she should talk to her parents instead and that it wasn't appropriate to call so late. He also mentioned that she should have let me know first. That really struck a nerve with me, and I told him that keeping this from me wasn't okay and could lead to me losing trust in him. He reassured me that he would never fall for her tricks and that I had nothing to worry about. Even with his reassurance, I had read too many stories about husbands falling into similar traps, and I didn't want to be naive by blindly trusting him. I told him that the next time Dove called, he should hand the phone over to me so I could catch her in the act. Sure enough, one night, her call came through, and Atlas woke me up in the middle of the night. I answered the phone, and Dove immediately went silent when she heard my voice. She quickly claimed it was a mistake and hung up. The next day, I tried calling her multiple times to confront her, but she never picked up. So I texted her from Atlas's phone, letting her know it was me and that she needed to stop calling or texting him at odd hours. I also told her that if there was anything urgent she should contact me directly instead. After that, she finally stopped texting him, and I felt relieved that she was out of our lives. After Atlas proposed to me, I sent a picture of the ring to my dad. Dove must have shown it to Mom, and not long after, she started her stalking behavior again. She began texting Atlas and sending ridiculous videos. I was completely fed up. As soon as Atlas told me, I called her and unleashed all my pent-up anger, telling her to stop playing games and get a life. She mostly stayed silent while I let it all out, but I didn't realize at the time that she wasn't going to back down easily. As soon as I hung up, Mom called, furious, yelling at me for insulting my sister. Dove had told her that I was accusing her of trying to steal my fiancé. Mom claimed that my cruelty had caused Dove to have panic attacks and insisted that I be more considerate toward her, reminding me that Dove had been struggling with depression for years and was still recovering from her traumatic divorce. I found it laughable because Dove was never depressed about her divorce. I hung up the call and immediately informed Dad that if they continued to ignore Dove's behavior, I would have no choice but to cut them out of my life. I was done being a puppet in her game. I couldn't keep turning a blind eye to her antics. Update 3. I never imagined Dove would stoop so low. She had always made my life miserable, but I never thought she would actually try to seduce my fiancé before our wedding. The bullying, body shaming and constant ridicule were one thing, but realizing that she was willing to go as far as trying to ruin my wedding by seducing Atlas was a bitter pill to swallow. As we were planning our wedding, I wasn't in contact with Mom after our last confrontation. However, she eventually called and apologized for shouting at me, admitting that she had lost control out of fear for Dove, who was supposedly having panic attacks. One of my cousins later told me that Dove had been crying to everyone about how I was accusing her of trying to steal my fiancé and that I didn't deserve any of the good things in my life, especially Atlas. According to Dove, because she was the gorgeous one, she believed she should be the one getting the best of everything, not me. When I told Mom about this, she went quiet. She simply told me to forget everything and focus on my wedding and the happy life ahead. Fortunately, everything went as planned, and Dove managed to keep a low profile for a while. At the very least, she didn't interfere in our lives during that time. On the day of our wedding, we were at the venue, busy with final preparations, when I received a call from Atlas's best friend, asking me to come to Atlas's room with my parents. I jokingly teased him, saying that Atlas wasn't supposed to see the bride before the ceremony, but he insisted that this was something serious that needed to be dealt with before the wedding. My heart raced as I hurried to Atlas's room with my parents. When we arrived, Atlas was lying shirtless, drifting in and out of consciousness, while his groomsmen recounted Dove's devious actions. Apparently, while Atlas was getting ready, Dove had shown up with a drink. He initially refused it, but Dove persisted until he took a sip. Almost immediately, Atlas realized the drink was spiked. He excused himself and went to the washroom, where he called his friend, explained what had happened and asked him to come over. By the time his friend arrived, Atlas had partially passed out and was out of the washroom. Since his friend was sharing the room with Atlas, he had access and quickly turned on his camera as he entered. He overheard Atlas shouting at Dove to leave him alone while she was on top of him, undressing herself, and rubbing against him. This disgusting act was captured on camera. When Dove noticed Atlas's friend, she pretended they were making out, covered herself up and left the room, smirking at his friend and asking him not to tell anyone. Little did she know that she had already been caught on video. When we walked in, Atlas was still lying there, partially unconscious. The drink was so potent that even a few sips had left him severely dizzy with a pounding headache. The glass was still there, with solid particles settled at the bottom. It was an incredibly humiliating moment for my parents, who were in disbelief that Dove could do something so horrendous. My mom immediately called Dove and told her to come to Atlas's room. When she arrived, her lipstick was smudged, and she nonchalantly said, "I know you guys are mad at me, but it was mutual. Atlas loves me and has been making advances on me ever since we met. Today, he convinced me to have a one-time hookup before the wedding." My mom slapped her hard, telling her that we were aware of her lies and that everything had been recorded on camera. Dove was stunned by this revelation, and my parents wasted no time in kicking her out of the venue before she could cause any more trouble. Security was instructed not to allow her back inside. It was obvious that she had been trying to make it known that she had been with Atlas, hoping I would call off the wedding. My dad immediately called a doctor, who confirmed that Atlas had indeed been served a spiked drink, which had severely affected him. Atlas's parents and siblings were so upset that they wanted to confront Dove, but my parents had to apologize profusely to them to help calm the situation. The wedding had to be delayed until Atlas recovered, which took several rounds of vomiting to get through. Word of the incident spread quickly among the guests, who were buzzing with gossip for the next few days. Once Atlas had fully recovered, my dad walked me down the aisle. While I was happy to finally see Atlas as my husband, I couldn't shake the stress of everything that had transpired. During our vows, Atlas added an extra promise, vowing to protect our relationship from anyone who didn't want to see us together. After we returned from our honeymoon, my parents came to visit us and apologized to Atlas for all the trouble Dove had caused. My dad reassured us that Dove would be out of our lives for good. He had actually kicked her out of the house and told her to fend for herself. Despite this, I'm still struggling to move past the incident. My wedding was perilously close to being called off, and if Atlas's friend hadn't recorded what happened, I might never have believed that Atlas was innocent in all of this. Mother-in-law ruined my wedding. By spiking my drink, then tried to buy my forgiveness with $5K, now we're left to navigate the fallout. My mother-in-law secretly spiked my drink at my wedding, causing me to faint and ruin the reception. Now she's trying to buy my forgiveness with $5,000 because my husband has made his decision. Hi everyone, I'm Rachel, 27F, and I just got married a week ago to my wonderful husband Jaden, 32M. The wedding felt like something straight out of a telenovela. This whole journey began 2 years ago at a local coffee shop. I was a regular there, always needing my morning caffeine fix to start the day. One day, I noticed a tall guy with kind eyes standing in line behind me. He seemed nice, but to be honest, I wasn't really paying much attention. All I could think about was getting my hands on a latte. Later that same week, I bumped into him again, and this time, we ended up chatting while waiting for our coffees. We talked about everything. Our favorite books, weird childhood stories, and even our mutual love for that cozy little coffee shop. We laughed a lot, and for the first time that day I felt truly awake. Looking back, I realized that I was quick to judge at first, perhaps because I was so absorbed in my routine or because Jaden wasn't the kind of guy I typically gravitated toward. But that day, something shifted in me. There was a genuine kindness in him, a warmth in his smile that I couldn't ignore. We exchanged numbers, and that very night, Jaden texted me, asking if I wanted to grab dinner sometime. We ended up going to this tiny Italian place hidden away on a side street. The food was incredible, but the best part was our conversation. We talked for hours, and it felt effortless. We discovered we had a surprising amount in common: a love for old movies, a secret passion for karaoke, even though neither of us is very good, and a shared obsession with tacos. Over the next few weeks, we started seeing more and more of each other. We went on hikes, explored museums, and even tried, and failed, to take a pottery class together. The more time I spent with Jaden, the more I realized how special he was. He was funny, intelligent, supportive, and always knew how to make me smile. He pushed me to be a better person and made me feel like I could be completely myself around him. Then, on our second anniversary, Jaden surprised me with the most incredible proposal. We were on a weekend getaway to a charming cabin in the mountains. It was snowing softly outside, and we were cuddled up by the fireplace when Jaden got down on one knee and pulled out a ring. I don't even remember exactly what he said because all I could focus on was the love shining in his eyes. Of course, I said yes. As soon as we got back from our cabin trip, I dove into planning the wedding with so much excitement. But this is where things took an unexpected turn. After Jaden and I got engaged, I met his mom, Maria, 57, for the first time. She lived a bit out of town, so we hadn't had the chance to meet before. At first, Maria was incredibly sweet to me. She talked about how thrilled she was to finally have a daughter-in-law. Jaden was her only child, and she mentioned that she had always wanted more children, so having me join the family felt like a big deal to her, almost like gaining another child. She even hugged me warmly and said she couldn't wait to get to know me better. However, things began to change rather quickly. That weekend, Maria came to stay with us to help with some wedding planning and to spend more time together. Initially, I was thrilled, thinking we'd bond and grow closer. But as the weekend progressed, her attitude shifted in a way that made me uncomfortable. The first passive-aggressive remark came during breakfast on Saturday morning. I had made a batch of my favorite pancakes, and while Jaden was outside enjoying his coffee, Maria looked at me with a smile and said, "Oh, I guess you don't worry too much about carbs, huh?" I laughed it off at the moment, assuming it was just a casual comment, but it stung a bit. Later that day, as we were flipping through some wedding dress magazines, Maria pointed at a model and remarked, "This dress is stunning, but it's meant for someone with a very specific figure. Not everyone can pull it off." She glanced at me as she said it, and it felt like a subtle dig, suggesting she didn't think I could wear something like that. I just nodded and tried to brush it off, but the comment lingered, making me feel self-conscious. The remarks kept coming. When we were out shopping for some decorations, she casually mentioned, "You know, my friend's daughter lost 20 pounds for her wedding. She looked so stunning. Have you thought about doing something like that?" I was taken aback and didn't really know how to respond. I mumbled something about being content with my body as it is, but it left me feeling judged, as if she thought I should be trying to lose weight for the wedding. The next morning, while she was looking through my kitchen cupboards, she commented, "Oh, you have a lot of snacks here. I'd try to keep my house a bit more on the healthy side. You don't want to gain weight before the wedding, do you?" I couldn't believe she was still harping on about my weight, and it was beginning to really hurt my feelings. It felt like she was picking on me, even though she always had a smile on her face and spoke in a seemingly kind tone. What struck me as odd was that Maria never made those comments in front of Jaden. It was as if she had a switch she could flip on and off. When Jaden was around, she was all smiles and sweet words, but the moment he stepped out or was in another room, she'd start making those passive-aggressive remarks. I felt like I was living in two different worlds, one where I was accepted and loved, and another where I was constantly judged and criticized. Initially, I didn't think it was necessary to bring this issue up with Jaden. After all, it was his mom, and I didn't want to create any tension between us, especially since we had just gotten engaged and were in such a blissful place. I kept telling myself that it was just a minor inconvenience, something I could handle. Besides, I'm not exactly thin. I have curves, and I'm proud of my body. I've worked hard to feel confident in my own skin. Maria's remarks were more annoying than anything else. It felt like she was trying to undermine my confidence, but I was determined not to let her get to me. However, Maria started coming over more frequently. It felt like she was around every weekend, and it was beginning to drive me a little crazy. I worked from Monday to Friday and only had the weekends to focus on wedding planning. But every time I turned around, there was Maria, offering to help or just hanging around. It was tough to concentrate on wedding preparations with her constantly there, making little comments and acting like she knew better than I did. One weekend, she called to say she'd be coming over again. I felt a knot of anxiety in my stomach because I really needed some time alone to plan without her input. So I told her I was going to be busy and wouldn't be at home. She asked what I was up to, and before I could stop myself, I blurted out that I was going to look at wedding dresses. I think I just wanted her to know that I had important things to do. To my surprise, she got really excited and said she'd love to come along. I didn't know how to say no without sounding rude, so I reluctantly agreed. The next thing I knew, she was at my door, beaming and eager to help me find the perfect dress. I tried to smile back, but inside, I was dreading how this shopping trip would unfold. We visited a few bridal shops, and from the moment we stepped inside, Maria was in full mom mode, suggesting dresses that didn't appeal to me and making comments about how certain styles wouldn't flatter my figure. It was utterly draining. I felt like I couldn't even breathe without her casting judgment. When I tried on a dress that I genuinely loved, she remarked, "It's nice, but don't you think it's a bit snug around the waist? Maybe something more flowy would suit you better." I was crushed because I adored that dress, but her words made me second-guess myself. By the end of the day, I hadn't found a dress, and I was feeling pretty low. Thankfully, Maria went back to her place, and I finally had a moment of peace. For the next few days, she kept texting me, asking when I would be looking for dresses again. I just kept saying that I didn't know when I'd have the time. I was determined not to tell her when I planned to go shopping, but my plan unraveled when Jaden mentioned to his mom that I'd be going dress shopping the next day. So she called me, asking what time she should come over. I found myself at a crossroads. Maria had already made so many remarks about my body that I dreaded the idea of her tagging along. I knew that if I took her with me to the bridal shop, she would ruin the day with more comments and judgments, so I decided to come up with an excuse. I told her that the bridal shop had a rule allowing only 2 people to accompany me, and my mom and maid of honor were already on their way. I realize now that it was a pretty lame excuse, but at that moment I couldn't think of anything else. Maria quickly pointed out how ridiculous my explanation was and said, "What kind of bridal shop only allows 2 people? That's just silly." I fumbled for a response and said, "I know it's weird, but that's what they told me." I was sweating bullets because I knew how flimsy my lie sounded. I hurriedly told her I had to go and ended the call before she could ask any more questions. As soon as I hung up, a huge wave of guilt washed over me. I hated lying, especially to Jaden's mom, but I just couldn't face another day of her making me feel bad about myself. I decided to focus on the positive and remind myself that this day was supposed to be fun and exciting. My mom and maid of honor picked me up and we headed to the bridal shop. I did my best to shake off the lingering guilt and just enjoy the moment, and in the end, I found a dress that I absolutely loved. After that, Maria didn't call, text, or even visit our house. She still kept in touch with Jaden, which was a bit of a relief since it avoided any awkwardness between them. I sent her a picture of me in the wedding dress, hoping to share some of my excitement with her. She responded with just a thumbs up emoji and nothing else. I wasn't sure how to interpret that, but I decided not to overthink it. With so much to do as the wedding approached, I didn't have time to dwell on her reaction. As the wedding day drew nearer, I became increasingly busy with all the preparations. Honestly, I didn't reach out to Maria again. There was so much to coordinate, finalizing the guest list, confirming the caterers, and ensuring that all the decorations were perfect. Finally, the big day arrived. It exceeded all my expectations. The ceremony was beautiful, and I couldn't stop smiling as I walked down the aisle toward Jaden. The look on his face when he saw me in my dress was priceless, making all the stress of planning worthwhile. We said our vows, exchanged rings, and just like that, we were married. The reception started off perfectly. The venue was gorgeous, the weather was ideal, the food was delicious, and everyone seemed to be having a great time. I loved our first dance. Jaden and I had taken a few dance lessons and we managed not to step on each other's toes. It felt like a fairy tale, and I was on cloud 9. Everything was going smoothly until I decided to get a drink. I walked over to the bar for something refreshing, and there was Maria, standing right there. She turned to me with a big smile and said, "You look like you're having a wonderful time. Let me get you a drink, just relax and enjoy yourself." I was a bit taken aback by her sudden enthusiasm but thought maybe she was trying to make up for all the awkwardness. She handed me a Shirley Temple, and I thanked her and took a sip. A few minutes later, I started feeling drowsy, but I assumed it was just because I was tired. Then, I fainted on the floor and lost consciousness. Everything went black, and the next thing I knew, Jaden was panicking and calling for an ambulance. I could hear the worry in his voice as he tried to keep me awake. People were gathering around, but it was all a blur. When the EMTs arrived, they quickly brought me back to consciousness and began asking questions about what I had eaten and drunk that day. I told them everything, including the meal I had at the reception and the Shirley Temple that Maria had given me. They expressed concern and asked if there was anything unusual or if I had taken any medication. That's when Maria, looking a bit guilty, stepped forward and admitted that the drink she gave me had alcohol in it. She explained that she didn't think it would be a big deal and thought it would help me relax. I was stunned. Why would she add alcohol to my drink without telling me? The situation became even more complicated when my maid of honor, Emily, spoke up. She informed the EMTs that I had taken some anxiety medication just minutes before walking down the aisle. I had been so anxious about everything going off without a hitch that I took a small dose to calm my nerves. It turned out that the combination of the medication and the alcohol in the drink was what caused me to collapse. There must have been some kind of chemical reaction that knocked me out. The EMTs explained that mixing alcohol with certain medications can be very dangerous and that I was fortunate the outcome wasn't more severe. After the EMTs left, Jaden turned to Maria and demanded that she leave. His voice was shaking with anger, and Maria looked completely shocked. She tried to explain, insisting she hadn't meant any harm and that it was all just a misunderstanding, but Jaden wasn't having any of it. He shouted at her to leave the reception immediately. I had never seen him so furious, and it broke my heart to witness his anger towards his mom on what was supposed to be a joyful day. With all the chaos, I wasn't feeling well, and the mood at the reception took a nosedive. Guests started to feel uncomfortable, and the joyous atmosphere we had worked so hard to create just vanished. People began leaving one by one, and before we knew it, the reception ended early. It was devastating to see everyone leave so soon, and I felt like the day I had been dreaming of for so long had been ruined. Jaden and I went back to our hotel room, and I was left trying to process everything that had happened. I felt numb, exhausted, and overwhelmed with sadness. This day was supposed to be one of the happiest of my life, but instead, it had turned into a nightmare because of a careless prank. I couldn't believe that Maria's actions had destroyed our special day. Maria kept texting and calling both me and Jaden, but neither of us responded. We needed some time to process everything and figure out our next steps. I could see that Jaden was deeply troubled by the situation. He loved his mom, but he was also incredibly hurt and angry over what she had done. It was a difficult situation, and I had no idea how to fix it. When we finally returned home, I tried to put the whole incident behind me and focus on starting our new life together, but it wasn't easy. Every time I thought about our wedding day, I felt a pang of sorrow. I kept replaying the events in my mind, wondering how things could have turned out differently if Maria hadn't pulled that prank. It felt like a dark cloud hanging over what should have been a beautiful memory. Thankfully, we soon left for our honeymoon, and it was such a relief to escape all the drama and stress. Jaden and I had an amazing time exploring new places and creating beautiful memories together. It was the perfect getaway, and for those 2 weeks, I felt like everything was back to normal. We laughed, relaxed, and enjoyed each other's company without a care in the world. When we returned home, reality hit us hard. The moment we pulled into the driveway, there was Maria, standing at the door. My heart sank, and a wave of anxiety washed over me. I had anticipated this confrontation, but I wasn't prepared for it to happen as soon as we got back. What made it worse was that she didn't offer an apology. Instead, she kept insisting that it wasn't her fault and that it was all just a prank. She tried to justify her actions, saying things like, "I didn't think it would hurt you." and I just wanted to lighten the mood. It was infuriating to watch her refuse to take responsibility for what she had done. I couldn't believe she was trying to downplay the whole incident as if it were just a harmless joke. Jaden couldn't hold back any longer. He snapped and told her that enough was enough. He said she had crossed a line and needed to own up to her actions. He made it clear that the only way he would talk to her again was if she apologized to me. He told her that she had hurt me deeply, and it was not acceptable. Maria tried to interrupt, but Jaden didn't let her. He went on to say that from now on, they would only be seeing each other during holidays. No more random weekend visits, no unnecessary calls. He told her it would be like they were distant relatives who only met on special occasions. Maria was shocked and started to cry, but Jaden remained firm. I could see how painful it was for him to have to set such boundaries with his own mother, but he was determined to support me and ensure I felt safe and respected. Yesterday, while I was at work, I got a call from Maria. It caught me off guard because we hadn't spoken in a while, and I wasn't expecting her to reach out, especially during work hours. She told me she was outside my office and wanted to meet. I was surprised and didn't want her coming inside and causing any unnecessary drama, so I agreed to meet her outside to avoid a scene. We sat down at a small cafe across the street, and I could tell she was really upset. As soon as we began talking, she broke down in tears. It was awkward because people around us started to stare. She told me she couldn't believe what Jaden was doing. He wasn't answering her calls or responding to her messages. She was distraught and begged me to talk to him on her behalf, saying she just wanted things to go back to the way they were before. I want to point out that, up until this moment, Maria still hadn't apologized to me for what happened at the wedding. It was as if she was in complete denial about the impact of her actions. I told her that instead of coming to my office and causing a scene, she should be thinking about how her actions had affected both me and Jaden. I explained that she had ruined my wedding day, and it wasn't fair to expect me to just brush that aside and talk to Jaden for her. She tried to defend herself, saying she didn't mean any harm and was sorry I reacted the way I did. It was as though she couldn't see past her own perspective and understand that her actions had real consequences. She kept insisting that if she had known what would happen, she never would have done it. As she continued to cry, I noticed people in the cafe beginning to glance over with concern. The whole situation made me incredibly uncomfortable, and I just wanted to leave. I told her that I would see what I could do, but I didn't make any promises. Up until now, I still haven't talked to Jaden about it because I'm not sure if I'm ready to forgive Maria. After all, she only apologized after I prompted her to do so. My mom thinks I should just let it go and forgive my mother-in-law, but I'm not entirely sure. What do you all think? I'd really appreciate your advice. Update 1. Hi everyone, thank you so much for your comments and suggestions. It really means a lot to have a space where I can share my story and receive support. Maria's constant texts and calls were starting to wear me down. So I decided it was time to have another conversation with Jaden and figure out how we could move forward. I told Jaden that Maria had come to my office and apologized to me. It wasn't entirely true. Her apology wasn't exactly what I needed, but I felt like it was time to start mending things, even if just a little. I told him that I had forgiven her, which was mostly true, because I wanted to move past this mess and focus on our future. Jaden looked at me with concern and asked if I was really sure. I assured him that I was ready to move on, but we needed to set some boundaries with his mom to avoid any more drama. He seemed relieved that I was willing to forgive her, but he also recognized that this wasn't just about me, it was about us as a couple and our need for peace and stability. After our talk, Jaden texted Maria, letting her know that he was glad she had apologized to me and that we were ready to try and move forward. However, he also made it clear that the boundaries we set before still stood: no more dropping by unannounced, no more constant calls, and no more overstepping her limits. He told her that we needed some space to focus on our own lives. Maria responded almost right away, saying that she was sorry for everything and that she just wanted to be a part of our lives. She promised to respect our boundaries and give us the space we needed. I still have mixed feelings about the whole situation. On one hand, I'm glad that Maria seems to be taking our boundaries seriously, but on the other, I still feel a bit uneasy because I know that one slip-up could bring all the drama back. I'm trying to focus on the positive and remind myself that we are making progress, even if it's slow. Some of you have asked about my anxiety, and I want to thank you for your concern. I don't feel comfortable going into too much detail, but I do want to clarify that my anxiety wasn't about Jaden or our relationship. I knew he was the one for me from the moment things got serious between us. The anxiety was more related to the wedding day itself and the immense pressure that comes with planning such a big event. We had over 200 guests attending, and I was determined for everything to be perfect. I worried endlessly about all the little things that could go wrong, like the food not turning out well, the music not being enjoyable, or the decorations not living up to my expectations. The thought of any detail going awry made me incredibly anxious. I wanted our guests to have an amazing time and to remember our wedding as a beautiful and joyous celebration. Update 2. Hi everyone, something unexpected happened, and I'm still trying to figure out how to feel about it. Things were going smoothly until last weekend when Jaden received a call from Maria inviting both of us to dinner at her place. She mentioned that it was important for us to have this dinner to start getting things back to normal after everything that had happened. Jaden told me about the invitation and asked what I thought. I told him it would be okay and that we should go. Maybe this was her way of trying to make amends. When we got to Maria's house, she greeted us with a warm smile. But after dinner, Maria did something that completely took me by surprise. She got up, left the room, and came back with a check for $5,000. She handed it to me, saying she was truly sorry for ruining our wedding day and that, while she couldn't change the past, she wanted to give me this money as a way to make up for it. I was completely taken aback and immediately felt uncomfortable. It was such an unexpected gesture and I didn't know how to respond. I refused the money right away, telling her that I didn't need it and that we should just let bygones be bygones. Jaden agreed and told her that she didn't have to give us any money, but Maria was persistent. She wouldn't take the check back and ended up slipping it into my coat pocket. I was so shocked and didn't know how to handle it. She seemed almost desperate for us to accept it, which only made the situation more awkward. After that, we left her house and headed back home. On the way, Jaden and I talked about what had happened and we were both confused. Why would Maria give us such a large amount of money? It felt strange, and I couldn't help but wonder what her true intentions were. Was she genuinely sorry, or was this her way of trying to buy our forgiveness? I'm not sure and it's left me feeling really unsettled. Jaden and I discussed it again, and we're still not certain about what to do. He's just as confused as I am, and we both want to approach this situation in a way that's fair and respectful. We don't want to hurt Maria's feelings or dismiss her attempts to make amends, but at the same time, we don't want to feel like we're being bought off. If anyone has any advice or has gone through something similar, I'd really appreciate hearing your thoughts. Update 3. It's been 2 weeks since my last update and honestly, not much has changed. We still have the check that Maria gave us, but we haven't cashed it. It's just sitting in our drawer, almost like a reminder of everything that's happened. I'm not really sure what we'll end up doing with it, but for now, it's just there. As for our relationship with Maria, things are pretty much the same. We're all in this holding pattern where we're trying to be civil and respectful without revisiting the past too much. She's been respecting our boundaries, which has been a huge relief. She doesn't show up unannounced anymore, and the constant barrage of texts and calls has stopped. It feels like she's genuinely trying to do better, and that gives me some hope for the future. Jaden and Maria still talk on the phone regularly, and their conversations seem to be positive. I'm relieved that their relationship hasn't suffered too much from everything that happened. I also talk to Maria sometimes. Our conversations are polite and a bit formal, but both of us are making an effort to keep things friendly. I think this will be my last update for a while. I don't expect much to change anytime soon, and I'm hopeful that things will continue to improve little by little. I want to focus on the positive and keep moving forward, and I believe that's the best approach for now. If anything major happens, I might pop back in with an update, but for now, I'm going to take a step back and concentrate on living my life. Thank you again for all your support, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. My husband is cheating on me with my best friend, betraying both our marriage and my trust in the most painful way. I'm honestly not sure where to start, so I guess I'll just start. My husband and I have been dating since I was 19 and he was 22. We've been married for 6 years now. We have 2 kids and I'm 6 months pregnant with our third. 2 years ago I found out my dad has stage 3 colon cancer. My dad is my only parent as my mom passed away when I was 12. He's my favorite human and life without him doesn't seem as colorful. His laugh is contagious and he gives these big bear hugs that seem to make all of your broken pieces feel like they're perfectly in place again. Whenever I've had a hard day he doesn't poke and prod and just lets me vent and listens. About 5 months ago we discovered the treatments aren't working for him and in direct quote from the doctor he said months not years. Since then he's gotten progressively worse and now is losing memory. He looked at the dog he got for me on my 21st birthday and said, "Wow, that's a nice dog. Where'd you get it?" My husband has been my absolute rock. He has been there for me holding my hand and helping me through this. He's been so loving and attentive to both my kids and I. Don't get me wrong, I am a mother first always. I don't allow myself to wallow. My kids are still loved, cared for, played with, and I haven't let my load slack around the house. Once my dad got his updated prognosis, my husband encouraged me to quit my job. About a month later we discovered we were pregnant again and I still hadn't let go of my job. I kept holding out for some reason. After finding out I was pregnant again, he assured me it was still okay to quit my job, that honestly it would save us a small fortune on daycare costs anyways. So I did, I quit my job. My best friend and I have been friends since diapers. Her family is like my family and vice versa. My mom and her mom grew up together. We've always been solid, and right after my dad's appointment, when we found out he had so little time left, I drove straight to her house and she held me while I cried for hours. If there are soulmates in friend form, she was mine. Thick as thieves, is what my mom used to say. This morning as I was up with my 3-year-old, he's sick, my husband's work alarm was going off. He has a few he sets, so I turned that one off and gently woke him up. He said he was up late working, so he took the morning off. Rolled over and went back to sleep. As I went to turn off the remainder of his alarms, I saw a text from my friend on his lock screen that said, "I'm assuming since there hasn't been an angry pregnant lady on my doorstep you haven't told her about us yet?" Time froze at that moment. I took his phone and walked away and just read their conversations. 4 months this man has been fucking my best friend. 4 months these people have been lying to my face. And I know what you're going to say, you should have seen the warning signs. But I've been clutching this phone in my hand for 2 hours and nothing. He has been so loving and attentive to me, but he always has been. So kind and gentle. There have been no late night work nights except for once in a blue moon. There has been no lingering touches between them or even glances. They act as they have since the day I first introduced them. How sick is it that she calls him her brother but she screws him? I know so many people get a moment of clarity in situations like this, but I have none. Aside from being sad about my dad, I haven't changed. I'm still a loving wife and mother. I still doted on him and my children. I talk to him about how he is doing and how his day is every freaking day. I haven't allowed the ground to swallow me whole. I know what I have to do now, but I just don't want to. I'm about to lose my family and my support system in one blow. I'll confront him tomorrow. Today I just need this last 24 hours of peace. As for her, I won't give her the satisfaction of a response. I don't care why she did it. She did it and it's done. I was always the friend who cleaned up her messes. After today I will cut her out of my life like she never mattered at all. This has to be the hardest storm I'll ever weather, but damn it, I know it'll sail through it. If not for me, for my children. Update 1. A small update about everything going on since my kids are now in bed for the night. I spent the morning gathering everything I could and making a checklist. I sat in my office for the better part of the morning telling my husband that I was preparing things for my dad. Not a total lie. I did have to get him sorted with hospice today. My boss would be happy to have me back, however my lawyer said pump the brakes on that idea for the time being. However, my old boss did tell me that whenever I'm ready, the door is open and to just give her a call. He does not have access to my inheritance from my father, nor my mother. My lawyer assured me that. I didn't mention her in the post, but my mother-in-law is an absolute angel. I love and adore her so much, and she's always been a shoulder to lean on. After he had gone to work for the afternoon, I asked my now ex-best friend's mom and my mother-in-law to meet me at my dad's house. My kids were outside playing with my now ex-BFF's older brother. I just handed them the screenshots, saving them from the unsavory pictures and sex tape, though I did tell them it existed. To say they were furious was an understatement, and they are on my side completely. Angie, my now ex-BFF's mom, is ready to cut contact with her daughter completely. She kept repeating how sorry she was. We hugged and cried together. My mother-in-law told me she couldn't believe she raised a spineless, terrible human. That no matter what happens I will always have her, and as far as she's concerned she doesn't have a son, only a daughter. After an in-person meeting with my lawyer we went over finances, logistics, and everything you could think of. She has all of the proof and she's out for blood. With this post now on TikTok, I don't want him to find out by an app because one look at the story and he'd know it was about him. With permission from my lawyer. My ex-BFF, her mom and dad, my soon-to-be ex and his parents will be having a get-together tomorrow. By the time they're sitting down and showing them everything and that I know. My dad, my kids and my ex-BFF's brother, he's coming to help me juggle the kids, and my dad, being big and pregnant doesn't help with mobility, will be at my dad's cabin a few hours away enjoying time and space. I know a lot of people were hoping for me to get revenge or do psychological warfare, but honestly after my kids went to bed I took a shower and just broke. I don't have the strength or energy to dish anything out. I just want out. Pretending like everything was okay today was too exhausting and I just don't want to do it. Once he finds out tomorrow I'll update with the aftermath, as I'm sure it will be huge. As for now, thank you all so much for your kindness, warmth and support. Truly. Your words have helped give me the strength to keep my head above water. I appreciate every single last one of you for everything. Update 2. For my typing's sake, I'm going to give everyone fake names, so for context, mother-in-law and father-in-law, Ruth and Joe, ex-best friend forever parents. Angie and Bob, ex-best friend forever. Jess, soon to be ex-Tyler. Ex-best friends forever brother, Jake. And I'll just refer to my dad as Dad. I have a few things I want to get through, so I'll just summarize as best as I can, and if you have any questions I'll answer in the comments. To get this out of the way, because to me it feels important. Yesterday I scheduled a same-day appointment with my obstetrician gynecologist and got tested for just about every STD/STI out there. I got the results back and they were all negative. There's a few that take up to 2 weeks to get the results back for, so I'll be waiting on those. When I met with my lawyer, I bought everything on my end financially wise, including the wills from both my dad and my mom, and I managed to get my hands on his financial documents. He stores his in his office in a locked box. I also brought over everything we had set up financially for my children. While I'm not totally sure if it's everything, I'm pretty confident I got most of it. My lawyer was happy I managed to get my hands on that much. Ruth even handed over her will to me from both her and Bob to ensure I was taken care of in the divorce. My lawyer understands I am wanting a divorce immediately, however she wants to make sure she is thorough and isn't missing any key info. So hopefully I'll have actual divorce papers to give him in about 30 days. I'm not rushing her though, I'm letting the professional do her job. Now for the sit-down. I asked Angie and Ruth to describe everything in detail on what happened. Angie, the revenge seeker that she is, forced them to sit through a slideshow she put together of all of the texts. I know a lot of you were concerned about one of them telling them sooner than later, but they were so secretive they didn't even tell their significant others about what was happening. Once the slideshow ended, Tyler tried lunging for Jess and Joe actually had to force him to sit down. Tyler was shouting profanities at Jess and telling her she will regret this. Jess started crying and begging her parents for forgiveness. Bob looked his daughter in the eye and told her he will never forgive her for this. Blood or not, she is no daughter of his. He didn't raise his daughter to be this person. Jess was always a daddy's girl, so I think that cut her pretty deep. Jess is in the middle of a divorce herself, and her parents were giving her money for her lawyer, and they told her she is cut off from them both financially and physically. Tyler's dad was irate. According to Ruth, he looked like he was holding back on throttling him. From there, Tyler went straight home. I know because we have a Ring doorbell camera along with a few cameras in the house for our kids to keep an eye on them when we aren't right next to them. Tyler came home and saw that most of mine and the kids' stuff was gone, and he lost it. Started yelling and throwing things. The house is now trashed with a few holes in the walls for decoration. When he didn't find us there, he went to my dad's. While I did spend most of the day, he was at work packing and moving things into my dad's house. We were already at his cabin. Tyler took a baseball bat to my dad's door, trying, and failing, to break it down. My dad's neighbor actually called the cops on him and he was arrested. His parents refused to bail him out. I had an appointment with my therapist today. I've had one for a year now since I was struggling with my dad, and it felt good to just cry it out and let everything out about how I was feeling. It was very helpful, and she gave me a few tools to work through my emotions with this one. I felt very grounded and empowered leaving my session today. I'm also planning on setting up my children with a therapist when we get back from the cabin to figure out the best way to deal with telling them. I know people said I shouldn't, but I will be telling them, just in an age-appropriate way. I don't want there to be secrets and lies between us. I've always been as open and honest as I can with them, again in the most kid-appropriate way. Just because they're small humans, they're still humans and still deserve the truth. I had a handful of comments telling me I should stay and every man cheats. I should work things out because most of our marriage was good. I refuse to believe all men cheat. My parents were married for 20 years, and after my mom passed, my dad never moved on. I watched my dad love my mom for 12 of those years and cherish her. I will not accept anything less than that kind of love. He never cheated, nor did she. While I'm not sure when I'll be ready to move on, falling in love is the absolute last thing on my mind at the moment. I refuse to let Tyler win and destroy love for me completely. I will move on from this. Jess started blowing up my phone demanding I fix this situation and immediately blaming me. My lawyer told me to not block texts just in case they spill out additional info I was missing. She was playing the poor me card very hard. The thing is though, I never influenced Angie and Bob to cut contact with their daughter. They made that choice on their own. She actually started blaming me for stealing the love of her life. I introduced them when Tyler and I started dating, so not sure where that came from, and that Tyler is only with me for the kids. Honestly, I knew she was just trying to hurt me at that point. I didn't give her the satisfaction of responding though. Between her and Tyler I have about 200 missed calls. Tyler went from begging and pleading me to forgive him. Like I said, I didn't have divorce papers to hand him, so he's stuck in this unknown gray area. I also asked Angie and Ruth to not say anything about the divorce to him yet. Purely just for my satisfaction, honestly. I know it's slightly petty, but keeping him in that gray area of not knowing is my small revenge to him. To threatening to call the cops on me for kidnapping, telling me Jess wasn't the only one, bingo, just what I was looking for, to telling me I'm a stuck-up bitch, to threatening me, to back to begging me for forgiveness. Honestly, it was just a whiplash reading those texts. I'd be lying if I said that those texts didn't hurt me and terrify me all at once, but I refuse to let them break me. As for both of them together, I don't think he's going to stay with her. I think he blames her for blowing up our marriage, honestly. Who knows though, they deserve each other. I was initially okay to do a 50-50th split with Tyler for custody, but after his reaction I don't feel comfortable with that, so I'll likely be going for full custody. Jake has about 30 days of leave he's saved up, and he's going to be using them to help the kids and I get settled at my dad's house, and honestly to be there in case Tyler tries showing up going crazy again. He's been such a big help to the kids and I lately, and I'm forever in his debt for this. Last night after the kids went to bed he hooked up his Xbox and we played a game called Diablo 4 together to help me take my mind off of things. It was fun. However, he did sort of confess that he's always had feelings for me somewhere in the midst of things, but also told me to not say or do anything back. He understands a relationship or anything like that isn't on my mind and won't be for a while. He isn't wrong, but just that he's felt that way since we were teenagers and just wanted to get it off his chest. Thank you again. Seriously, your comments, your support, your messages, all of it has been one giant breath of fresh air. Just knowing I have a whole online community willing to go to bat for me has kept me treading water these last couple days. Your comments have popped in my head when I felt like just giving up on leaving him because it's so hard, and gave me so many great points and helpful advice. I know I deserve more and I can't accept his actions. And to the people who commented relating to my situation, my heart goes out to you all. This pain is awful and I hate that so many of you can relate, but your stories have resonated deep within me. You all keep commending me for my strength, and my personal favorite is telling me how proud of me you are. Every time I see those words I start to tear up. I'm blaming the pregnancy hormones, but your words have helped put me at ease so that way I could do what I knew I needed to do. So I'll leave this here for now. If anything of importance happens when I go back home I'll update further. Thank you all, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. Questions in the comments. Hobbit Bones. I'm sure many of us would like to know, have you told your lawyer that you want to go for full custody? And have you saved those messages your soon-to-be ex said with threats toward you and your children? I'm sure you have, since you saved screenshots of messages the first time. You've handled this really well. You've done all the right things to gather evidence and protect yourself. I'm proud of you. And I really wish the best for you and your children. OP answer. I forwarded everything to her as well as telling her he was arrested, and she responded with, full custody. And I agreed. Thank you, truly so much. A comment deleted after an overwhelming number of downvotes faulted OP for taking her kid's father away from them. To this OP replied, I'm not taking away their father. I will not keep them from him at all. But yes, I will most likely go for full custody. Not out of bitterness or spite, because I could simply never be that person. There is zero excuse for punching holes in walls, and trying to break down my dad's door, threatening to unalive me, unalive our children. If he wants to see them I will allow supervised visits. Maybe in the future if he gets therapy and help for those thoughts and actions I'll allow it. For now my mind is made up. You may see it as running away, but I see it as taking space to comprehend what has happened to my life and allow myself breathing room. My entire future I had carved out for myself and my children has exploded right in front of my face. That deserves breathing room. And yes, I allowed others to confront what they did to me, simply because I don't have the mental capacity. My focus is on my kids and my dad, everything else is background noise. Honestly, even if I did confront them myself, my in-laws and ex-friends' parents would have had their own confrontation regardless. I am fully aware I will have to face the music one day. However, today is not that day and I plan on enjoying that for the time being. People doubted if OP's story was true as the break between updates was quite short, with comments like, all this in 1 day and a half. To which OP replied, my doctor's appointment took an hour at max, most OBs do same-day appointments for urgent reasons. I just moved clothing, some toys and any of my important things to my dad's, which is 15 minutes away from my home, with help from quite a few people. To be honest, it wasn't even a lot of stuff to move anyways. It all fit in the bed of my father-in-law's pickup. I was lucky that a lawyer had a same-day opening spot and gathered documents that are all stored in one spot because I keep them organized. I already have weekly virtual therapy sessions which just so happened to be today, which was an hour. All I did was give my in-laws and ex-BFF's parents the screenshots and saw them for about 2 hours before I headed home. Which I usually spend time with my dad in the evenings, so he was fully aware of where I was, but I asked him to stay home and start dinner instead of coming and drive to a cabin. I found out yesterday around 6-7 a.m. Do people not understand how little actually happened? Jess, I was hoping it wasn't you when I saw this on TikTok, but obviously it is you, Kirsten. I told you to break up with him. I told you Tobias was in love with me. You refused to listen. I told you my husband left me because he was cheating, but it was because Toby told me we could run away together and we could be together. You ruined everything and now he won't speak to me. You need to clean your mess up instead of posting on socials being a pathetic POS. You're unbelievable. Did you think I wouldn't see this and find out? I hope you miss Carrie. Technical_pumpkin_65s, also somebody in OP's life, reply to Jess? Are you serious, Jade? Apparently Jess's real name. Coming here and playing the victim, you disgusting fake human being. Not only that, but you expose yourself by telling the real names. Now everyone will know it's you and your entourage. You are so jealous and have a huge obsession with Kirsten that you ruined your own life after all the mess you created. It's obvious Toby never loved you but just wanted to use you for his pleasure. There is nothing more easier to manipulate than a jealous freak who has an obsession with him. If he really wanted to run away with you, he would have done it a long time ago, but he lied to your face with the one big excuse ever: I stay for the kids. Ha ha ha, you are the clown. Well, here, not victim. That's why even your own parents cut you out from their lives too. You are such a shame as a woman, but also as a human being. You pretend to befriend and betray not only her but your family and your own husband. Can't wait to hear what will happen to you when more people will know around you. You will finally receive the treatment you deserve, especially after wishing her to lose her baby. Karma will do his job now. OP's reply to Jess: you told me to break up with him when I was 19 and you were engaged to another man. You never said why. You never said anything about him, because if you did I never would have been married and you would have been cut out sooner. Also, no, I put fake names in the post to protect your identities, but if you want to blast yourself to the public, that's your choice, not mine. Update 3. Hi everyone. I know a lot of people are still asking for an update. Not much has happened, but here are the things that have happened. Tyler discovered the post and asked me if I was seeking a divorce. I said I was. He apologized for losing his cool. Asked if there was any hope for reconciliation. I said no. We did have a conversation about the kids, and he'll be allowed to see them with supervision, to which he agreed to. I had another meeting with my lawyer. Nothing of major importance happened. Nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, has happened with Jake. He didn't take back his confession, but as I said, it's on the back burner for a long while. My kids' health and well-being take priority over all else. My dad's health is on a steady decline. He's now in the hospital with no release date in the immediate future. Please send over thoughts and well wishes his way. My kids are adjusting well. We have a therapy appointment for them scheduled next week to help them. My oldest has more questions than the rest, but I'm trying to save any big conversations for the therapy appointment, so I know I'm conveying the answers in a meaningful and the least harmful way. Also, my oldest made tryouts for the traveling soccer league. Yay. Oh, and the baby is doing great. Things have calmed down a lot. Truly. I feel like I have a better grip on things. I've been putting most of my focus on my dad and kids to keep myself busy. Thanks you friends for the love, support, and for checking in. New update. Hey everyone. I'm still getting daily messages and comments for an update, so here is what could possibly be my final one. My dad passed away about a week after my last update. I knew it was coming, but it still feels like a gut punch. Thank you to everyone who kept him in your thoughts. Truly. My marriage has officially ended. Once Tyler, I believe that's the fake name I assigned to him, please don't call me out if it's not, it's been a while, discovered just how serious I was about leaving him, he became compliant and was willing to give me everything I asked for in the divorce. So my lawyer opted for a dissolution versus divorce. The process is a lot quicker and goes smoothly. As of right now I have full custody while he works out his anger management and whatnot with therapy. I'm not sure if I'll ever trust him again with the kids, but I'm also in therapy, as are my kids. I'm not making any decisions at all right now when it comes to that. He gets supervised visits at a facility where there is an army of staff and security and someone is there at all times. That's once a week, and he does get video calls twice a week. The kids are adjusting pretty well. There are days when I think it affects them more, but they've suffered some big losses, so it's to be expected. I did decide to give the baby my dad's first name though. It just felt right. But the baby is doing so very well and is thriving despite the amount of stress I've had going on. I'm managing as best as I can with everything going on. I miss my dad like crazy and I'm still trying to figure out how to exist in a world where he doesn't. The grief still is so very heavy. I'm still mourning my marriage as well. I don't regret leaving him, but it still hurts me deeply. However, I'm picking up the pieces and making my life whole without him. My mother-in-law, well, ex-mill now I guess. I don't know, it still feels weird. And Angie helped me out so much. They've really allowed me to lean on them in these moments. Whether it be taking the kids for a little while or cooking dinner for us when I don't have the energy. I truly am so lucky to have them. And finally, to what you all have been waiting to hear about, Jake. Jake is now back in California. He tried extending his leave but the military said no. It was truly wonderful having him there and helping me. In the first few days after my dad's passing, he picked up so much slack for me that I will truly never be able to repay him for it. He is so patient and kind. That being said, nothing has happened between us. Though he did hold me while I broke down after the kids went to bed quite a few times. But that's the extent of it. No kissing or anything like that. He does call me and text me multiple times a day. Right now I just don't have any room in my life for romance. I have so much grief and the weight of being a single mom has been heavy. He hasn't pushed me on it either. He let me know that he meant every word he said and that he's willing to just be my friend until I decide I want more, if I ever decide I want more with him. I wish I could be the girl that jumps in with both feet, but the betrayal from my ex is still fresh and I'm worried I would burn anything out before it started. So I asked for friends and time to process everything else in my life before I even consider processing a new relationship. He happily agreed. Oh, and Tyler and Jess are not a couple. Most of you were right, he left her high and dry. Though I don't wish misery on anyone, I'd be lying if I didn't say I get the smallest amount of satisfaction that her life went up in smoke. She's been blacklisted from her family. And I know a lot of you said it's weird that her parents did that, but if you guys knew just how deep my bond went with that family, it wouldn't seem weird at all. Angie is like my surrogate mom. She gave me the safe sex talk, the period talk, she listened to me cry about the boys who broke my heart, she held my hand while I delivered my kids. When she talks about me, she calls me her daughter. She knew my mom for practically her whole life. She held my mom's hand when she delivered me, and if anything had happened to both of my parents, she's who I would have gone to live with. My parents had that in their will. So with all of that being said, please just be kind to me in the comments. I put this off for a few days because of how hostile some people were, and the prospect of being called a liar doesn't sound too appealing at the moment. Again, I can't thank you for the amount of light and love I've received from you. I promise I read every comment and message, I just haven't had the capacity to respond. You have really helped brighten my days with all of your words of encouragement. I appreciate you all. I am so lucky to have an army of internet friends, you guys are the best. My delusional stepdad ruins my $900 prom dress out of spite. Now we're taking him to court for the damage, and the drama unfolds. My delusional stepdad deliberately destroyed my $900 prom dress because I refused to give his golden child son money for his prom outfit. He got what was coming to him. I've never posted here before, but I really need advice because I'm so upset and have no idea what to do. I'm only 17 and not sure if there's any legal action I can take. For some context, I live with my biological mom and her husband since my parents separated and were never married. I originally lived with my dad from the age of 2. He won custody in the custody battle, but he later lost custody after a severe work accident left him paralyzed, making it impossible for him to take care of me. I still see him every weekend and spend the entire summer with him. When I was 10, I moved in with my mom, her husband, and their 2 sons, one stepbrother and one half-brother. Ever since then, my stepdad has made it clear, both directly and indirectly, that I've disrupted their lives by re-entering my mother's life because I'm just another person they have to take care of. I've been working since 10th grade and have been saving up for my senior year in college since last year with the money from my job. My mom and her husband made it clear that my mom would only help with the basics like my graduation cap and gown, senior dues, and senior class photo. Everything else, like prom, I'd have to pay for myself. I earn about $400 every 2 weeks from my job, which I've been saving entirely, and I make extra money by doing nails, around $100 a week plus tips, which I use for spending money. Since it's my senior year and the last year of high school, I wanted to go all out for prom, so I set an $800 budget for my prom dress. My prom is in April, and I wanted to get my dress early since the really cute ones sell out fast. So, I went prom dress shopping in December and found a gorgeous dress that cost $890. It's dark green with a long train, rhinestones embedded into it, and glitter throughout the fabric. When I first showed my mom and stepdad the dress, they asked how much it was. My mom said she wouldn't pay for a dress that expensive, but I told them it was fine because I had more than enough money saved up to buy it and would still have plenty left, $23,000 to be exact, though only my mom knows that. My mom said I could get the dress and that it was very pretty. However, my stepdad said it was irresponsible and a waste of money, and that I should use it for better things like helping out the family and paying some bills, suggesting I get a cheaper dress for no more than $300. Mind you, both his sons own PS5s and multiple pairs of $200 plus shoes. Long story short, my mom disagreed with him, and I ended up getting the dress. She even contributed $150 toward it. However, ever since then, my stepdad constantly brings up that I should help pay for things around the house since I have so much money to throw away. But my mom always shuts him down, saying that I work hard for my money and that I already help out by paying for Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Hulu bills, while my 18-year-old stepbrother doesn't pay for anything. Last Saturday, we had a huge argument because my stepdad suggested that I should help my stepbrother pay for his prom, to which I firmly said, no. He later called me selfish and said it wasn't fair that I get an expensive outfit while his son doesn't. I guess I responded with some snark, saying, that's not my child or my problem. He then tried to complain to my mom, who sided with me, saying that if anything, he should pay for his own son's prom. Well, today, I woke up from a nap and noticed my prom dress was missing from my closet. It was right at the front, so I immediately noticed it was gone. I asked my stepdad if he'd seen it since my mom was at work, and he told me with a condescending smile that he was washing it. I immediately ran downstairs and saw my dress being washed on the heavy-duty cycle. I canceled it right away, but the damage was done. Most of the rhinestones had fallen off, the glitter had washed out, and the entire dress was mangled. I took one look at it, then threw it in a trash bag and left for my friend's house, taking the dress with me. I texted my mom and sent her pictures, but I'm currently at my friend's house, lying on her bed. Her parents hung the dress outside to air dry so that my stepdad can't blame them if it was dried in the dryer. I know he did this to spite me because he never washes clothes, cooks, or does anything around the house since he considers himself the man of the house, so there was no reason for him to be washing my dress, even if it needed washing. Is there anything I can do? I realize neither of them can replace it, considering their difficult financial situation. I'll keep you all posted when mom gets home. So far my stepdad has called twice, but I haven't picked up, and my mom's at work and unable to take calls. Edit. I'm not sure how to add updates, so I'll just include an edit. My mom and I just spoke on the phone, and she's furious and on her way home. My friend, her dad, and I are heading to my house now, and my mom said she was going to call the cops as soon as she finished talking to me, so they might be there by the time I arrive. We've taken pictures, and my uncle, who is my mom's brother, will be over by 8 because I contacted him while he was at work. I've been considering your suggestions about withdrawing my money from my account, and I discussed it with my dad, who told me I could stay with him. Edit/update 2. When I got home my friend stayed in the car while her dad walked me in and my stepdad was already gone. However, the police were at the house. As of now, the police said they couldn't really arrest him because it's not like he technically stole anything. It's hard to explain, but basically, they said that because he washed the dress and didn't keep it, it's not considered theft. They suggested I could get a confession and have him pay or take him to small claims court. Also, the dress is non-refundable if damaged, so I can't return it or anything. While explaining everything to my mom, I got flustered and started crying. And she hugged me as I cried and told me that he's going to pay for this. This financial issue has been an ongoing argument, and I think he just pushed her too far this time because she's really angry. I also talked to my uncle, and he's off work and on his way over. Apparently, my uncle and stepdad have a rocky history since my stepdad has mouthed off to him in the past. When I explained what happened, my uncle reassured me that everything would be okay, and if needed, he would buy back the dress before it sells out, so I'll still have it for prom. He does expect my stepdad to pay me back one way or another, so it looks like I'll probably end up with my dress for free. Maybe that's a small victory. I'll likely update more later tonight, but things seem to be heading in the right direction. Edit. To clear up any confusion, I pay for the streaming service bills because I really want to watch the shows on those platforms, and my mom works hard but doesn't earn enough to afford those services on top of everything else. So I offered to pay for them so we could have them. She's not the kind of mother who would pick her husband over me, and she always defends me. My stepdad has never pulled a stunt like this before, He just tries to convince her to control my money and savings, but she's never touched my savings. I feel like that's why they always clash, because he has this mindset that, we have all these financial troubles, and your daughter could solve them with her savings, and you have access to them. My uncle came over, and he and my mom had a bit of an argument because he blamed her for enabling my stepdad's behavior by not leaving him, which he thinks is why my stepdad felt comfortable doing what he did. She argued back, saying she's always defended me against him and has never taken any of my money. Which is true. We all talked about it for a while, and she revealed that they actually had an argument last night about paying off a car payment. She mentioned how all these bills are wearing her down, and he responded by saying it wouldn't be such a burden if she used my savings and didn't let me spend it on foolishness. She got angry and defensive because he keeps bringing it up. He also pointed out that the $900 I spent on my dress could have covered the car payment for the next 2 months. By the way, he only knows about my savings because he knows how much I get paid and that I've been saving all of it, so we think that's what triggered him to throw my dress in the washer. My mom and stepdad have been texting back and forth, and he admitted that he washed the dress to teach me a lesson about not spending so much money on something that can be ruined so easily. But he deliberately set the washer to heavy duty, so it's clear he intended to destroy it. My uncle has offered to replace the dress, so I don't need to worry about not having my special dress. We called the boutique and explained everything, and they said they could order another dress, though it won't arrive until February 23rd, which is fine. My mom sent my stepdad a long, threatening message basically calling him out. She's really heated right now, so I'm going to try to ask for a screenshot later. She and my dad also talked and decided it would be best if I got my own bank account so that my stepdad can't use the excuse that she has access to my account, which is also great. My mom and I had a discussion about what's going to happen next, and she said she's not sure yet because it's all a bit overwhelming for her. She's seriously considering leaving him, but I guess she doesn't want to talk about that just yet. My stepdad is currently staying at a friend's house. I'll keep updating, and I might have another one tomorrow. My friend's parents are going to keep the dress at their house, and I'll pick it up tomorrow to have as proof. My uncle has wired me $1,000 for my prom dress, and I'm planning to use the money to replace the dress and buy new shoes. He's quite well off, which is one of the reasons I reached out to him in the first place. I'm going to call the boutique and see if they can reorder the dress, and I'll just pick it up sometime in February. However, we still want my stepdad to pay in some way, and we're working on that. My uncle has also called my other uncles and aunts, with my permission, to vent about the situation, so now most of my mom's side of the family, who all live in Georgia, are aware of what happened. I woke up to a flood of texts expressing sympathy and even some offers of money for prom, which have added up to about $300. So that's a positive outcome. My mom also contacted my step-in-laws, who then spread the news, complete with pictures, and I guess most of them are shocked, except for his mother, who is still buying his excuse that it's just a dress and it was an accident, despite the evidence. I also got a call from my stepdad's sister, who expressed sympathy, and through our conversations, I learned that my stepdad has been asking a lot of his family for financial help because, for some reason, he's bought so many things on credit that he can't keep up with the payments. My mom called my stepdad for answers, which we recorded, and he's basically trying to blame her, saying that if she hadn't pissed him off last night, he wouldn't have done it. He claimed he was trying to teach me a lesson about being responsible with money and that he had planned to lecture me afterward. My mom has now broken up with him because he blamed her for caring more about me than him, which is bizarre. This led to an argument where my mom said, "You think I care about her more than you? Well, you're about to see just how much I do." Their relationship had already been rocky because he can't manage money, and this was the final straw for her. So a lot has happened. First off, we've placed an order for my dress and it's being shipped now. It should arrive at the boutique by February 23rd, so that's sorted. My stepdad and mom are officially broken up, but my mom isn't sure yet if she'll proceed with the divorce because everything is still so fresh, and lawyers are expensive, and she can't afford it right now. They also have a prenup, so they don't share any assets, and the house is my mom's. It was her dad's house that she inherited. She had a different dad from her siblings, who all share the same father. My stepdad came back with his brother after a while and tried to make up for everything by buying me a new dress from Macy's that's similar in color and length to the original, but it's very tacky and ugly and looks nothing like the dress I originally had. He then tried to apologize, saying it wasn't his intention to ruin the dress and that he was just going to wash it to make a point, like, "See, this is why you don't buy things like this." And then he would have bought me another dress. But that explanation makes no sense at all. My uncle also came back to the house after I texted him that my stepdad had returned. My uncle was at the store when he got my message, and when he arrived, they got into a huge argument. My uncle demanded to know why my stepdad destroyed the dress, But my stepdad said he wasn't going to let anyone walk into his house and start making demands. My uncle called him a name, and my stepdad told him to say it again. So he did, and they ended up fighting. My stepdad lost the fight and then threatened to call the cops, but we reminded him that he swung first. After that, he went on a rant, cussed us out, and left, taking the dress with him. We're actually planning to follow your advice and take him to small claims court, considering the evidence and the damage. Hopefully, we'll come out on top. Right now, my stepdad is staying at his parents' house. For those curious about my brothers, here's an update. My 15-year-old half-brother was at his girlfriend's house since Friday, so he missed all the drama, but he reached out to me today. I love him so much. My 18-year-old stepbrother, on the other hand, has basically taken his dad's side, so there's not much more to say about that. Also, for those who suggested changing the streaming passwords, I've done that, and my mom and I are going to set up a new bank account for me later today. Thanks so much for all the support. I'll keep you updated as we make plans and hopefully get a favorable verdict. My wife overreacts to our daughter's minor injuries, causing strain in our parenting and increasing tension within the family. My 28F wife, 26F Sophia takes every scratch our daughters, 7 and 5, get extremely seriously. Every bruise, every scraped knee, every cut is an emergency to her. And because they're emergencies to her, they become emergencies to the girls. Not only does this mean it's hard to tell when an injury is actually dangerous, did she twist her ankle, or break it? Is her arm bruised, or fractured? But the kids are responding badly to any hurt they feel now. At the mere sight of blood, the 7 starts wailing like she's been stabbed. Even worse, her sister has started intentionally banging her arm into things or falling on concrete if she thinks she's not getting enough attention. Last week my wife took the oldest one to urgent care because she got a canker sore and Sophia was convinced it was something more sinister. While she was gone, I had the younger one, who was upset that Sophia had spent so long on her sister and had now taken her to the doctor to get special attention. So she threw herself on the tile floor in front of me and started screaming and holding the wrist she hadn't actually twisted. I'm so tired of all of this, I just let her scream. When I didn't give her the attention she wanted, her screaming in pain turned into sobbing because I wasn't cuddling her and kissing her better and promising her cookies and a late bedtime. I told her I'd be in the den with the cats when she felt like joining us. I felt like a bitch for letting her cry herself out, but she's never going to learn to walk off scooter falls or getting hit with dodgeballs at this rate, and she can't be rewarded for this kind of behavior. It's just not healthy. Eventually she ran out of tears and came to sit with us and I let her have a watered-down soda. Well, when Sophia got back with the older kid, who now had the same numbing gel we already had in the cabinet and $200 urgent care bill, our younger daughter told her what happened and now she's furious at me for ignoring something that could have been serious. I told her she's the one making mountains out of molehills and feeding into the actual dangerous behavior. We've been fighting about it all week and the kids have only been acting up more as a result. I'm so tired of this. Maybe my appendix will burst and I can spend a few nights in the hospital away from this insanity. Relevant comments. OP on if her wife had PPD when she got pregnant and gave birth. Did her wife have any medical trauma? OP. No and no. Both of them were adopted, and to the best of my knowledge she's never had negative doctor experiences. If she had, it wouldn't make sense to keep dragging the girls in for scratch knees. She's absolutely setting them up for failure, she just refuses to see that. If someone here can convince her to see a therapist, or an ounce of reason related to this specific situation, then they're miracle workers. She's great in almost every other aspect, I love her, but the constant coddling and panicking is getting ridiculous. Did OP and her wife have infertility problems? OP, no. As far as I know, both of us were perfectly healthy reproductively speaking. All pregnancy is dangerous and IVFs usually result in multiples, increasing the risks or forcing termination of it doesn't take right. And they're ridiculously expensive. A lot of places aren't exactly trustworthy when it comes to ensuring the health of sperm donors, etc. There wasn't a chance in hell I was ever carrying children, so that was out. She never fought to carry them. When we decided we wanted kids and we were in a place that it was feasible, we looking for agencies and found our girls. OP on the relationship her wife has with their daughters and if she's overprotective. OP, we've had long talks that always dissolve into arguments over the subject before. As I understand it, she really sees nothing wrong with what she's doing. She wants to make the girls feel like they'll be seen and taken care of, but she's going too far. She does spend time with them regularly. She has an office job and has them alone from 6 p.m. onwards on days when I work, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And she doesn't work on weekends at all. But yes, the younger one has definitely learned that making it look like she's hurt herself, or actually hurting herself, however minor, is a surefire way of getting Madre's attention. Not sure I helped last week. I don't want her thinking mama doesn't care, but I just could not bring myself to reward her pretending to be hurt. That's an interesting idea, it might help the girls, although I don't see it changing Sophia's behavior much. Update. Wow, my first post got more popular than I was expecting. Not a full update, but a few people were curious, so I thought I'd throw this out there with some of this week's developments and some clarifications. This sub only allows 2 updates, so the next one, if I end up publishing it, probably won't be anytime soon. TLDR, my 28F wife, 26F, has been making our daughter's injuries worse by treating all of them like an emergency. This has led to the older one, 7, to genuinely believe that every injury could be fatal, and the younger one, 5, to realize that if she's hurt she gets special things like cookies, candy, extended bedtimes, movies, etc. And is the main source of conflict in our marriage. Clarifications. 1. This is not Munchausen by proxy. Y'all have got to lay off the Hulu docuseries and stop trying to diagnose strangers with serious and sinister medical issues based on one post written by their annoyed spouse. My wife does not hurt them. She is not poisoning them, or looking for drugs to feed them, or posting all over social media about how great she is and how lucky the girls are, etc., 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 or trying to scam people out of money or a Habitat for Humanity house. Sophia is not worrying for the attention of it. She is trying to ensure that they don't feel ignored and neglected, to the point that she takes everything that they say seriously, but she's gone too far and it is now backfiring. The few people who pointed out that the younger's behavior of faking injuries or actually giving herself a bruise could develop into something more serious are correct, however, which is a concern that I also have. 2. Attention. The girls get attention. They get plenty of attention from both of us. They are not being neglected to the point that they need to injure themselves as a cry for help. For one thing, my older daughter doesn't do that. She is just genuinely convinced that bruises could be internal bleeding and any bump on the head could be a concussion. Which means that I'm going to have to give her the period talk pretty soon, or she's going to think she's dying if she starts early. For another thing, the younger one tends to only do it when she thinks her sister is getting something she wants, or we said no earlier in the day. They get attention, but they get special attention when they're sick or hurt. Someone in the comments last time, don't remember the name, suggested flipping it to discourage the younger girl's behavior, by essentially taking away fun things and forcing them to rest when they're sick or hurt. A few other people suggest pain charts of some variety, or first aid classes. Those might help with the older one and Sophia herself. That was probably the most viable advice I got, however well-meaning and true a lot of other stuff was. 3. Therapy right now is not an option. You can suggest it all you want, I can and have suggested all I want, but as of right now it will not be happening anytime soon. We had a bad experience with a highly regarded adoption specialist therapist a few years ago that resulted in our older daughter having more issues with her adoption than she did when we started, issues that we've had to figure out how to manage on our own because the 2 therapists we tried after that only compounded and exacerbated those new issues. My daughter would have been better off if she'd never been to therapy in the first place. As a result, my wife has lost almost all of her faith in mental health professionals. Quite frankly, I lost the majority of mine as well. And while I've made mention of it to Sophia, my bigger focus is on getting her to just change this one behavior. 4. Was my wife traumatized as a child by being medically neglected? To the best of my knowledge, no. She doesn't have any long-term health issues, and she was never very involved in any physical and potentially dangerous sports when we were in school. Her family hasn't suffered from very many illnesses or accidents, even during COVID. So while I've driven myself to an emergency dentist before and broken my wrist without even knowing it, the only time she's ever been in a hospital was to pick her dad up from a colonoscopy. At least before she started taking our daughters in for benign bumps, bruises, and cuts. 5. No, my wife does not have anything postpartum. The actual update. After a couple of other comments brought up how my girls behave away from us, I decided to ask. My wife works a normal 9-5, while I work 3/12s from 6 p.m. to a.m. on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. During the winter they have school and daycare respectively. This winter the younger one will be in kindergarten though, and during the summer they both go to daycare from about 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on my workdays, and just in the mornings on other days as needed. I do drop-offs and pickups. When I picked them up on Monday I decided to ask one of the caretakers how the girls had been behaving. She told me they were fine. They bickered sometimes, but there was nothing unusual going on. I asked what happens when they get hurt or feel sick during the day, how they handle it, etc. I didn't tell them about my wife. I didn't want to be telling tales out of, or at, school. I think she might have thought I was looking for help, which I was technically, because she told me that as soon as a kid falls down, or takes a ball to the face or anything else, they start the whole interaction by telling them you're okay, and assessing the damage calmly as they approach. Even if the kid is bleeding, they don't react. They say something like, "Wow, that looked kind of scary. I bet it surprised you. Let's see your arm/leg/whatever." She basically wrote me a script. I asked her how my girls reacted to it, and she told me that the older one was a little more sensitive than her peers. She cried easily, and they had to be extra firm with the "you're okays" with her. The younger one she saw a little less. She's in a different age bracket. She only just turned 5, so she's still technically in the pre-K group. But she'd never heard anything about her. I asked what exactly they do if a kid is bleeding or bruised. For bruises, they can sit with a little ice pack for 15 minutes before they need to come back to the ground, unless it's actually serious. And for cuts, they get it washed and a band-aid. So nothing exciting as far as I could tell. The fact that we haven't been called into the school to pick up our totally terribly injured 5-year-old before tells me that she knows she won't get Madre's special treatment at the school, and since I will be the one picking her up if they think she's too sick or something, there's really no point in kicking up too much of a fuss unless she just wants to hold something cold for a few minutes. Neither of the girls have been hurt or sick this week. We stopped arguing, because I frankly do not have the energy to do so constantly. I'll look into the pain chart and first aid classes and bring up boring damage mitigation soon, once we've both had time to calm down. Additional information from OP, I'm going to put this here, since apparently it needs to be said. I am aware that saying it's okay or you're okay the way the daycare workers do is a good idea. This is what I have been trying to implement for a long time. Even if a child is genuinely hurt, adults need to remain calm to keep the child calm. If an adult is upset, then the already upset kid will become more upset, and if that kid isn't upset, then they will be when they see their parents freaking out. I am not looking for excitement. I genuinely have no idea how you read my post and got that impression. None. If I'm playing checkers, you've started a game of chess. I am trying to end the excitement. When I said nothing exciting in my post, it was not because I don't want to implement something boring, it's because I do. I very much want my kids being hurt to stop being exciting or rewarding. That is the entire point of everything here. Of a week of arguing, of every other argument before this one. There was no one working up my older daughter. The younger one wasn't getting rewarded. If anything, being hurt at daycare got her essentially a timeout with an ice pack, or rubbing alcohol and a pat on the back. That is a good thing. That is what I want. OP on communicating with her wife about their daughters on how to react if they got hurt. OP, I've talked with her a lot about it. It used to start when she was already working up because one of the girls was hurt or something, and I'd try to calm her down and help the girls calm down. She'd be so keyed up that it would turn into a fight fast. So after a while I stopped trying to interfere at the time, because us arguing while one girl and inevitably the other cried wasn't exactly helpful. After that I started waiting until after all of the excitement of the emergency had passed by to bring it up. Especially when the younger girl started intentionally falling or bumping into things. I'd try to tell her that making a huge deal out of every scrape was just making things worse and the girls needed to figure out how to self-regulate and tell if they were actually hurt or not. She would accuse me of being callous and tell me she wasn't going to make our daughters feel helpless, hurt and abandoned. And no matter how hard either of us tried is dissolved into another argument. My fiance's best friend ruined my life. How we stood up for each other and cut off the toxic relationship. My fiance has the biggest heart, would literally give you the shirt, pants and hat off his body if you asked for it. He's a recovering people pleaser, and I get it because I also used to be a people pleaser. We've been together for 5+ years. A few months ago, I started picking up on his best friend making some not so nice comments towards me. I'm trying to be vague, but let's just say this friend is the type to read who in the room would be most affected by being picked on, and then he picks and picks and picks on them until they can't take it anymore. Nobody ever really holds him accountable for this, and unfortunately I have somehow become his favorite target. I tried to put up with these comments, but it started getting really elaborate. The friend would make up lies about me saying things I never said. He once called me in front of all our friends, my fiance included, just to yell "you're a bad friend" into the phone and then hang up. There's so much to it that I can't share because I'm trying to be somewhat anonymous. It started having an effect on me and my mental health, and I ended up having a full breakdown where I told my fiance how much this was all starting to hurt me. The first time I broke down over this, he said he would talk to his friend about teasing/messing with me less. He then told me his friend was sorry and that he'd be keeping an ear out for any other comments and he'd jump to my defense if it happened again. A few weeks later I had a second breakdown over all this, The situation itself is hitting a very specific childhood trauma trigger for me. And he admitted that his friend didn't actually apologize. He actually said he was sorry I was too sensitive to understand his humor. At that point I told my fiancé my friendship with this person is over and I want zero contact from here on out, even if it means I have to miss out on events and parties that I'd otherwise love to go to. He agreed with me that all of this is being done with the intention to get a rise out of me, and that even if we tried to get through to this friend he's so diabolical that we could never fully trust him to not treat me at least a little bit shitty. My fiancé kept asking if this meant he had to quit the project they're working on. I told him I would never tell him he had to because I know how much it means to him, but in all honesty, the fact that this person is treating me so poorly that I'm having physical stress reactions isn't enough for him to want to cut this person off does hurt a lot. The fact that it isn't a deal breaker for him is probably always going to sting a little. He's not confrontational at all and I always knew that, but it's not about confrontation. It's about standing in my corner. And I can't spend the rest of my life with someone who isn't in my corner. This friend is getting married to my best friend in a few months and we're both supposed to be in the wedding, but I really have no clue how. I get a literal knot in my stomach anytime his name is even mentioned now. I have seen this friend one time since all of this came to a head and he was so over the top nice to me that it came off as cocky. I had the second breakdown a few days afterwards because I realized I'm possibly going to spend the rest of my life on edge and on guard anytime this person is even somewhat in my vicinity, even if they aren't actively fucking with me. I don't know how to come to terms with the fact that my fiancé was willing to lie to me on his shitty friend's behalf, but he's not willing to stand in my corner against him. I think it'll always hurt. This guy was supposed to be the best man in our wedding, and as a result we haven't been talking much about wedding plans. I think if he's still planning on this friend being in our wedding I may have to call it off for my own sanity, and that sucks so bad. This is fucking eating me alive. I love my fiancé so much. I love his big heart and the way he loves all of it. But he loves some truly wretched people and I don't know if he'll enforce any boundaries with those people before the lack of boundaries becomes too much for me to handle. I'm just hurt. And hurting. And I just want whatever outcome to play out so I can stop feeling so guilty and awful all the time. Relevant comments. Has OP's fiancé defended her in any way? Not necessarily. He's non-confrontational but he knows the behavior isn't sustainable. He agrees with me that this friend is awful with the intention of being awful. They have a project they've been a part of together for over a decade and it means the universe to him and that's the biggest factor in all of this. He'd more than likely have to give that up. This entire situation is dog shit and there are zero winners, except for the asshole. What does her best friend say about this behavior? I have my own feelings towards what she's going through. I think she's being love-bombed and gaslit, and I've seen some proof of it with my own eyes. She was there for the bad friend comment and kind of defended him. I know she's so love-struck that she's probably going to choose him and it kills me but I'm trying really hard to step back in a way that doesn't totally burn my bridge with her in the end. When he gets that ring on her finger I have a feeling he will be a different man to her and she'll need support. I'll be there when she needs me. When told she should walk away. Don't think I'm ready to make my peace with this comment quite yet, but I hear it and I'm trying. Right before I met my fiancé I had just cut out a vast majority of people, including one of my closest friends and a blood relative, for making me feel the same shitty small way my fiancé's friend makes me feel. It's so much harder to burn those rotten bridges when they're not yours to burn. That's a lot easier to say when you have no stakes in this, my guy. I'm in love with my partner, and I know that this is eating him up just as much as it is me. Trust me when I say he holds himself accountable for his role in this and we've had many in-depth conversations about how his friend will forever be this way so long as everybody in his life enables him to be. It's hard to cut someone off even when they deserve it. I'm trying to show my fiancé as much grace as I can because I know how hard it is to give up on someone you always hoped would grow out of their awful behavior. Asked if there's any unresolved conflicts. No, my friend and I haven't ever really had any conflict. Me and her were hanging at my place while our partners got ready to head to hers, and they ding-dong ditched us twice. I heard the door a third time and ignored it because I assumed it was them again and then the asshole called me, speakerphone from my friend's phone, and told me it was a mutual friend that lived in the building and was looking for them for support. I tried to jokingly call them out for ding-dong ditching but that was when he yelled, "You're a bad friend," into the phone and hung up. I was really embarrassingly distraught by this and expressed how it was affecting me and my friend left an hour or two later after we sat in silence. I found out later from my fiancé that all our mutual friends, including him, were in the car and heard that conversation. And everyone felt tense but nobody said anything to him. It wasn't a joke and wasn't taken as a joke by anyone involved, not just me. After the friend who was knocking on the door went to find them, the asshole called me just to make me feel bad for not opening the door. I could hear the friend that knocked saying, "Hey man, not a big deal, it's fine." Real quiet in the background, but no one else spoke up. Trust me, I know these examples seem like they shouldn't be getting to me, but this guy is poking every spot he can on me until he finds one that gives him a reaction, and then he digs and digs. It's hard not to be hurt triggered when his literal intention is so hurt, trigger me. I know this isn't going to go on much longer. Update. Never thought I'd actually update this account out of sheer fucking embarrassment, but I wanted to share this for those who encouraged me to put myself first. I want you all to know my partner absolutely came through and protected me in this. We spent all this time since my last post up until last week communicating and trying to find a resolution, and walking through how it got this bad. He took a lot of accountability for that. This is not a case of me giving in. He understands fully that this has only got so bad because it's never been handled correctly, and he had a major hand in that. There were so many more layers to this than a Reddit post ever could have conveyed. The bottom line is we are closer than ever, and after a lot of talking, we decided on my partner sending a firm but not unkind message to his friend explaining the behaviors, explaining that they were hurting his partner, and that it needed to stop. He asked to write up the first draft and we could go over it together to try to perfect it. Reddit, please know the first draft my partner wrote was so spot on what I needed to read that it instantly shifted us into us versus the problem mode when we'd been stuck butting heads for weeks. He laid everything out so clearly and in ways that we hadn't discussed, so I know it came from him. We had to tone down a lot of the big emotions. We really truly gave the message its best shot to address the situation without being hostile. We knew the response would be bad no matter what, but I don't think anything could have fucking prepared us. This man went full scorched earth and blew up everything almost immediately. He insulted my partner. He told him these events didn't happen the way I claim they do. He demanded they meet up alone with a mediator. He even threatened to reach out to my partner's parents to fill them in, which is probably the moment we stopped taking his responses seriously. All of us are almost in our 30s. If once wasn't enough, he threatened it twice. We actually had to call them and warn them that he would be showing up at their place later this week and not to open the door. There's still a good chance he'll attempt it. We stayed respectful throughout all of this, which I feel good about. We didn't stoop to his level. We didn't insult anyone. We asked for basic human respect and somehow it blew up spectacularly. In the end, we both received a massive wall of text from my now ex-best friend, fully backing up her man and telling her side of the story, which is so insanely far off from what actually happened that all I can do is laugh. We've been shifting from crying to being dumbstruck to just straight up laughing because of the absurdity. I went into this thinking she was brainwashed, but it turns out I was wrong. They're a perfect match. I wish them all the best. I am sending them one last message setting the record straight, which my partner and I decided together was the best approach apart from just ghosting, before moving on from this entirely. I'm going to make it very clear this is done. Zero contact indefinitely and I will never look back. My partner and I both deserve way better friends and we both see that so clearly now. I am so fucking glad I learned my friend's true colors before we dropped $800 on a hotel for their wedding. Thank you to everyone who was kind. Not only did I put myself first in the end, but my partner did too. We're going to take this week in stride and process it all, grieve the friendships we once thought were forever, and at the end of the week we have a conveniently timed vacation to my partner's family cottage. I think we're going to come out of this stronger, because we already feel it. Again, thank you to those who had something productive to say. And I've made my peace with all the rest. I guess if the guy does something else outlandish, maybe I'll update, but for now, this chapter is closed and I'm so ready for it to start collecting dust. Relevant comments. When told victims of abusers do a 180 in their behavior to explain why her best friend is acting the way she is and chose the ex-friend's side, I definitely went into this thinking exactly what you just laid out. But I refuse to set myself on fire to keep her warm, and the shit she said in her message about my partner is irredeemable. She can never be a part of our lives again after what was said, out of respect for me and my partner, even if any part of me wanted to hold out hope for her. I hope this is a wake-up call for her, but it won't be me on the other line. Appreciate you and your kind words, friend. This has been hell, but I think we're both just glad to have an outcome. I'll always have love for her, but it will be from a very large distance, and even if by some miracle we reconnect, we will never be as close as we once were without some intense conversations and a lot of growth, maybe not even then. I don't see that being the case for a very long time. I've made my peace with that. How is the fiancé handling the business with the ex-friend as well as he can? He stepped down. He is going to find another project eventually, I know it. This has been so impossibly hard on both of us, but I know it's hitting him a bit more than me right now, and I'm making sure to prioritize him and remind him he can feel that pain and mourn what was, and it's not an insult to me at all if that makes sense. I know what this meant to him. He did give it up. I'm so sad he had to, but I'm grateful to him for putting his foot down. He's going to be okay, just needs some time to grieve and process. DNA confirmed I have an 18-year-old daughter living in the US. I don't know where to start, how to tell my family, or how to meet her. And yeah, I feel just as you would imagine. But it gets worse. She lives in the US, I'm in Europe. I don't know how to do this and really need advice. So what happened is that months ago I got a call from a US number. Didn't answer since I don't know anyone there. Then again the same day, so I answered ready to yell at some scammer. A girl on the other side introduces herself and just says that she thinks I might be her father. That was the first thing she said. "Hi, my name is Jane and I think you might be my father." Fake name. Obviously I told her I don't have any children and that she has the wrong number. But then she drops a name I haven't heard in, you guessed it, 18 years. Back around that time I was in the US for a year on a job exchange with our sister company. Met a woman there and we hooked up for maybe a few months. I remember buying condoms after meeting her, but I can't remember if we used them every time. Anyway, I gave her my non-US number but never heard from her again. The girl on the phone asks me if my name is OP and I freak and almost hang up on her. She tells me more about her mother and I just sit there like an idiot. She'd found my name and number in her mother's diary, and now as she turned 18 she wanted to contact me. She lives with her relatives now since her mother is unable to take care of herself for some reason. I still don't know the details there. She asked me if I'd be willing to do an ancestry DNA test and even offered to pay for it. She ends by saying I should think about it and ask if she can call me again. I just say sure and we hang up. I swear I was about to faint right there and then. The whole conversation lasted only like 5 minutes. I end up taking the test and we talk a few more times. The test took forever, but yesterday she sent me a screenshot of her profile matching 50% of mine. I mean, that's just it, right? We haven't spoken since, just messaged some. I lied and told her I've been busy and we'll talk later, which now makes me feel like an ass. Up until this point I've kept it together, holding on to the thought that I'm probably not the dad, but now I can't deny it. It's probably been half my life since I last cried. I haven't told anyone this. I was kinda hoping the DNA test would come back negative and then I wouldn't have to. How to even break this to my family? I just know they'll all want her number so they can call her and then they would start flying over to see her or bringing her here. They're really pushy like that. My mom is going to freak out. I don't see my family more than a few times a year, but we'll all get together during Easter. Should I do it then with all of them at once or one at a time? I have a picture of Jane, but not much more info than what I've written here. I'm the youngest sibling and now I suddenly have the oldest of the cousins in the next generation. And I never wanted kids at all. I just don't like them and hate being tied up. Even had a vasectomy since then. And that's the easy part. The real problem is what to say to Jane. Can some sane person give an example of what to say? I've promised to call her tomorrow. Has anyone discovered they have an unknown child? If so, what did you do? How did it go? How did you connect? What happened when you met for the first time? What did your family say? I'm a bit embarrassed by this, but is there any risk of me having to pay child support retroactively? I can probably afford it, but I don't really want to. TLDR, got contacted by a young girl claiming to be my daughter, DNA later confirmed. Need help on how to proceed and what to say to her and my family. Edit. I apologize for the abomination of the text above. I blame the alcohol. Some seem to have the impression that I and/or my family are wealthy. This is not so. I wrote in a comment that knowing my family, they would probably rent a private jet and fly her here. That was a joke commenting on what they would want to do, not what they would do. No, I'm not wealthy either. In the post I wrote, I can probably afford it but I don't really want to. And I meant that I'd hate to suddenly have something like 10% of my savings left overnight, just guessing here, no idea what the actual sum would have been. I'm sure anyone here would consider that factor. Anyway, someone said the limit is 3 years back. I didn't know that. I can be an asshole sometimes, but I'm not some monster. The money question was a question, not the question. Yes, I have had my number for a long time. Never had a reason to change it. We had our first video call today, and it was a long conversation. I had a list of things to bring up, mostly from suggestions here, so I'm ever thankful for that. Most of it was quite personal for both of us, so I won't write it here. But it boils down to that we both want to continue to stay in touch and get to know each other. We also want to meet at some point, even if we don't know when yet. Her family knows of me and they will join a call in the future so I can speak to them as well. I will hold off on telling my family for a while, but I will probably tell them one at a time. Update. Hello all. A while back I made a post asking for advice. Back then I had just had it confirmed by DNA that I had a daughter I never knew about. I called her Jane in the other post, so I will be here too. Jane is the result of me hooking up with a woman while I was in the US working. It was really interesting to read about others' experiences in the comments and DMs. It's crazy what DNA tests have done in recent times. Some wrote that Jane is probably just a kid looking for her roots, and you were absolutely right. I've been getting a steady stream of DMs since my last post. Most have been nice, just asking for an update. Then there were the absolute nutcases who can't read and told me to drown myself. Hi to you too. Jane and I continued to talk after my last post. Mostly about her life, her mother, the family trees, etc. I never thought I would connect with her like I did. She's a very intelligent and mature young woman. My family knows now, and it went better than expected. Mom and sister still went a bit apeshit, but Dad knocked them out with a large club he always carries with him. To the nutcases, no, that last bit didn't actually happen. Funny thing, my brother-in-law actually distracted Mom by reminding her that she has made sweaters for all the other grandkids, but now she's way behind on one. All of them understandably wanted to call her, but my daughter, yes, it's pretty cool to be able to say that. And I had already planned to have that call the following day. And it went really well. We made introductions, explained everything that had happened, and that we planned for me to meet her by myself before anything. And guess what? We did meet. I flew over for a 10-day stay since I'm on leave and she's working during the summer. That way we could hang out in the evenings and weekends and I could go full tourist during the day. It was surreal from the start. I landed at the very same airport I left from almost 2 decades ago, and she was there to meet me together with her aunt. I can't describe with words what it was like to hug her for the first time. I'd seen her many times in video calls, but she was just so beautiful I started crying. I met so many people in the first couple of days I can't remember the names of half of them. I gave her the sweater from my mother, a hand-drawn family tree from my niece, and a gift I made myself, but I won't tell what that one was. While I, still, don't agree with the Georgia weather, I had a blast during the days just walking around town. I went to Jane's workplace almost every day and pretended to be a regular customer. We had lunch and dinners either alone, or with the rest of her mother's side of the family. All of them were so nice and welcoming to me. I visited their house every day, but chose to stay at a hotel since I didn't want to be a bother or impose myself too hard on Jane's life. Obviously Jane and I talked a lot. About anything and everything, but mostly about her upbringing and her mother. I mentioned in the previous post that her mother wasn't able to care for Jane. I didn't press that subject much at first, but it was unavoidable after a while. I won't get into all the details, but her mother is sick and has lost some cognitive functions. She recognizes Jane and some family members well enough, others not so much. We went to visit the facility where she lives and Jane introduced me by name, and not as her father. She sadly didn't recognize me, so I stayed in the background for the remainder of our stay. Seeing a woman not much older than myself in such a state was a somber experience. So yeah, that was me rambling a bit about what happened after my last post. There was obviously a lot more, but most of it is deeply personal and emotional and I won't go through it here. I'm back home and we are keeping communications open. I'm definitely gonna fly Jane over here at some point when life allows it, but other than that, we have no specific plans for the future.